Chapter 2389, Jian Wushuang and Miss Xiao, 1. No. Jian Wushuang looked terrified. Almost at the same moment when Miss Xiao looked at him, a mysterious power started to rise from his body. The source of the power was the inner demons. It wanted to eat up his mind and his everything. The crucial aspect was that while it was eating him up, Jian Wushuang felt an incomparable satisfaction and comfort. It was such an amazing feeling that he could not help but let himself sink in. Jian Wushuang finally understood how the 3 first-class divine demons could not even fight it off. Not only first-class divine demons, even peak-stage divine demons or those above divine demon realm could easily be conquered by that mysterious power from the inner demons should they so much as slightly lose their concentration. Only a grounded mind could withstand an attack method such as that. Jian Wushuang let out a cold harumph while still standing at the same place with frosty eyes. The rising power of the inner demons was completely suppressed by him. Your bewitching tactic which comes from inner demons is truly impressive. Regretfully, doesn't work on me, said Jian Wushuang with a deep tone. He had lived for 100,000 years in his past life, which he had been through so many trials and tribulations, especially the 3 inverse cultivation tests. They were all tremendous tests for his mind and will. After going through that many challenges, his mind had become as indestructible as iron cubes. The bewitchment method that Miss Xiao used was truly powerful, but it would be a joke if she wanted to control him with it. Haha, you're truly something, huh? Miss Xiao smiled plainly, gradually dimming the red light in her eyes. She then looked towards Jian Wushuang again and said, compared to that rubbish before, you're truly not just at level higher. However, if I really want to kill you, I have many ways to do it. As soon as she was done speaking, a dark shadow flashed by and a phantom-like figure appeared next to Miss Xiao. That phantom figure was a young woman in black. Jian Wushuang, Xiao Heng, and the rest immediately recognized her. She was Little Li, the maid who was serving Miss Xiao in 100 Flowers Tower. The impression that she gave off before was also one of gentle and weak. However, Little Li's face was now as frosty as ice. What was especially surprising was the aura of divine power she was projecting. That divine power aura was even stronger than the late Baitaos and not by just 1 level. Peak stage divine demon. She is a peak stage divine demon? Xiao Heng and the core disciples were startled. Peak stage divine demon was above first-class divine demon. That stage could only be achieved by governors of the old cities in Luogu territory. Even for top-tier sects like Narcissus Island, there were only a few peak-stage divine demons which could be counted with 10 fingers. But a maid next to Miss Xiao was actually a peak-stage divine demon. Peak-stage divine demon? Huh? Your aura-concealing technique is quite impressive that you even fooled me, Jian Wushuang murmured to himself. Miss, would you like me to kill them? As soon as Little Li appeared, she inquired. A peak-stage divine demon. If an expert like that made a move, even Jian Wushuang, who used vicious methods to kill off every man from Mu clan a moment ago, would not have much chance to fight back. Furthermore, there was an even more terrifying person, Miss Xiao. Hearing Little Li's inquiry, Miss Xiao raised her eyebrows and looked at Jian Wushuang with a half-smile. Your name is Jian Wushuang, correct? Now that Little Li has asked, tell me, should I kill all of you off right here? Jian Wushuang was still incredibly calm. Miss Xiao, I've said just now, Narcissus Island has no relationship with the Mu clan. They were even using us. Moreover, I've killed off all the men from Mu clan, shouldn't you be satisfied by now? Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples finally understood why Jian Wushuang annihilated all the Mu clan experts. It turned out that he already knew their lives were all within Miss Xiao's palm. He did it just to make her happy, hoping that she would let them live. Furthermore, Jian Wushuang had told Miss Xiao since the beginning and asked her to show mercy. Jian Wushuang had always been with us and interacted with Miss Xiao. We had not realized anything fishy, but he realized so many things. What kind of a monster is he? Xiao Heng exclaimed in his mind. However, it was not the time to think about those things. He only hoped that Miss Xiao could show them some mercy. Your performance was truly quite impressive. If those 3 from 9 Stars Palace didn't show up, I could have let you live based on your merit of killing all the Mu clan's men. However, now that all of you have witnessed me killing the 9 Stars Palace people, which includes their most outstanding prodigy Bai Tao, who was one of the 12 minor kings. If words went to the 9 Stars Palace, it could bring me quite a bit of trouble. Therefore, the best way is to kill all those who know about this. That way, word wouldn't get out. Don't you agree? Miss Xiao playfully looked at Jian Wushuang. Certainly, I would have done that if it was me, said Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. Xiao Heng and the rest started to panic when they heard him saying that. Isn't it? Since even you think so, tell me, is there an excuse for me not to kill you all? Said Miss Xiao playfully. Of course there are plenty of excuses. For example, if you've killed us, not only you aren't able to hide the murder of Bai Tao, Luo Zhen and their lot, you will also deeply offend Narcissus Island. Jian Wushuang smiled. Oh. Miss Xiao's expression changed and immediately laughed. You are joking, aren't you? This part of space-time has already been completely sealed. Who would know if I killed you? I regret to say, Miss Xiao, you probably didn't notice that the surrounding space-time seal had gone through some changes, or should I say, there are some flaws? Jian Wushuang gave a big smile. What? Miss Xiao startled. Little Li, who stood next to her, immediately reached out her senses to feel the space-time around them. It was true that the time-space seal set up by the Mu clan experts had already shown some flaws. It was you. Miss Xiao glanced at Jian Wushuang. It's a space-time seal which involves space-time force. It just so happens that I'm one who studies space-time law and has learned a few tricks. When I was killing the Mu clan experts, I had already started working on unsealing it, to leave a backdoor for myself, of course. Jian Wushuang smiled. You actually had additional energy to shake up the space-time seal around you while slaughtering the Mu clan people? Miss Xiao was feeling surprised. Chapter 2390, Jian Wushuang and Miss Xiao. 2. Xiao Heng and his companions stared at Jian Wushuang as if he was some sort of monster. They could not imagine that he could have already predicted what would happen since the very beginning, and because of that, he had prepared an escape plan for himself. Moreover, the escape plan was laid out simultaneously when he was busy slaughtering the Mu clan experts. A method such as that was truly shocking. Miss Xiao, there are already gaps in the space-time seal around us, and I'm in control of them. As long as I wish to, every single thing that happened here will be reported to Elder Wu Jian of Narcissus Island. At that point in time, you would not only deeply offend 9 Stars Palace, you would also profoundly offend Narcissus Island. Of course, if you have the skills to kill me before I could even transmit the message, then by all means please make your move. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but just by using your bewitchment technique and your peak stage divine demon maid, even with enough time it would still be hard for you to kill me right here, let alone stopping me from transmitting the message. Jian Wushuang, while wearing a confident smile on his face. When it came to battle strength, he was comparable to first-class divine demon but still a far cry from Little Li's peak stage divine demon. However, it was not easy for a peak stage divine demon to kill him either. The crucial point was that he was a perfect chaotic creature, not to mention that he had fairly deep insights on space-time law that would allow him to escape based on his own speed. The second perfect chaotic creature born in the world would not be someone who could get killed so easily. Miss Xiao's eyes calmly looked at Jian Wushuang. Little Li on the side had her eyebrows locked tightly. They both could feel Jian Wushuang's absolute confidence and had to admit that they probably would not be able to kill him within a short time, even if they attacked him together. Jian Wushuang, you're brilliant, but you truly look down on me. Narcissus Island? 9 Stars Palace? What are they? You really think that I would worry about them? Miss Xiao burst out laughing. You wouldn't, but you don't like trouble, especially now. If my guess is right, you deliberately exposed your whereabouts to Mu clan with full preparation beforehand, and you're probably going to attack them in the near future. At this juncture, you want to avoid provoking large sects like Narcissus Island and 9 Stars Palace, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. Miss Xiao squinted immediately. She did prepare to make a move on Mu clan, and she did deliberately expose her whereabouts to the Mu clan. However, how did Jian Wushuang predict all of that? Interesting, it's getting more and more interesting. Miss Xiao's tone had a shade of playfulness while she was speaking, and the red light in her eyes started to reappear. She was looking towards Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples this time. Xiao Heng and the core disciples could not react at all before their eyes started turning into a daze before immediately collapsing to the ground. Jian Wushuang took a short glance behind at 5 of them and knew that Miss Xiao did not kill them but merely made them faint. With the 5 of them blacked out, the only ones still standing were Jian Wushuang, Miss Xiao, and the chambermaid, Little Li. Miss Xiao smiled. Jian Wushuang, you do have superior eyes and could see behind everything, but I could also see quite many of your matters. When you were cutting down the Mu clan's men a while ago, you had utilized 2 secret skills. The first secret skill was using a mysterious power that had already merged with your divine power, blood, and essence. This kind of power is really potent as it's able to push your realm level from the middle stage chaotic realm all the way up to the peak of it and even extremely close to peak stage divine realm, directly promoting you by half a realm. Secret skills that could directly level up your realm while not presenting any side effects are rare, even in the ancient god domain. If I'm not mistaken, what you used was the 7 stars secret skill of 7 stars Black Sect. Jian Wushuang was shocked but did not show it on his face. As for the second secret skill, which formed a 300 feet hologram behind you and pushed your battle strength even higher, I know it as well. It's Divine God of Punishment from the 7 stars Black Sect. Rumor has it that 7 stars Black Sect possesses 5 of the strongest secret skills. 7 stars secret skills and the Divine God of Punishment were among them. The 7 stars Black Sect regards secret skills like this as something extremely precious to them. They almost never pass it to outsiders. If an outsider had unusually good luck and was able to use one of the secret skills, he would be considered very impressive. However, to possess 2 of the secret skills from 7 stars Black Sect, it's absolutely impossible. However, to be at middle stage chaotic realm and possessing 2 secret skills from 7 stars Black Sect? Your relationship with the now perished 7 stars Black Sect must be quite unusual. Miss Xiao stared at Jian Wushuang with a half smile. Jian Wushuang raised his head and looked at her deeply, but smiled right away. Miss Xiao also has very good eyes. The process of destroying the Mu clan experts was very short and I only used the secret skills for an even shorter time, yet you could still recognize them. However, just because you were able to identify these 2 secret skills, you have also exposed yourself at the same time. Neither 7 stars secret skills nor Divine God of Punishment was the most important secret skills in the 7 stars Black Sect. It's not easy for someone to recognize these skills. It wasn't even easy for someone who had fought against these 2 skills to identify them through my battle just now. The only people who've gotten extremely familiar with them through deep studies, been in contact with them physically, and practiced them could recognize the 2 secret skills at first sight. Miss Xiao, you're the 2nd Miss of Mu clan and was born in Wuxia Wilderness. Up until now, you probably had less than 20 years of practice, so how could you've known about 7 stars Black Sect? How could you be familiar with these 2 secret skills? I'm afraid there is only one explanation to this, Miss Xiao. You arrived at Wuxia Wilderness only after going through samsara, am I right? Jian Wushuang stared dead at Miss Xiao. Miss Xiao also looked at Jian Wushuang at the same time. There was an absolute coldness in her eyes. Within the coldness, there was a bit of fear hidden. Yes, it was fear. Miss Xiao did not care much about Jian Wushuang in the beginning, but she really felt a little fear at that moment. However, the fact is that Jian Wushuang had an even bigger fear towards her. Both of them had extremely powerful minds and vision. Miss Xiao identified the 2 secret skills that Jian Wushuang practiced and his unusual relationship with 7 stars Black Sect simply by observing his short battle. While, precisely because of that, Jian Wushuang could identify Miss Xiao as someone like himself who have been through the reincarnation passage and ended up in Wuxia Wilderness using samsara. Chapter 2391, Jian Wushuang and Miss Xiao, 3, Samsara. Jian Wushuang sighed secretly in his mind. Samsara was an incredible method. Even within ancient god domain, there were only a mere few who could send a person into the reincarnation passage and rebirth with spiritual energy. That was the reason why there was hardly anybody who was reincarnated in the ancient god domain. However, there were two such people within the tiny Wuxia territory at the same time. One was Jian Wushuang himself, the other was Miss Xiao who stood before him. The difference was that Jian Wushuang came from the eternal chaotic world, a completely sealed-off world. However, Miss Xiao, someone who could achieve samsara must be one with an incredible origin. Miss Xiao understands the secret skills of 7 Stars Black Sect so well, plus your method of bewitchment is so unique and outstanding. You must have been a major figure in the ancient god domain, but you were forced to enter samsara because of some special circumstances. In situations such as this, if I were to expose your history, it would most probably put you at a great disadvantage. Jian Wushuang smiled. He knew that any reincarnated person always had a specific reason to enter the reincarnation passage. Furthermore, the reasons must be compelling enough for her to choose to be reborn into the next life. Hence, before she could completely restore her strength, Miss Xiao certainly would not want to expose her true identity. Are you threatening me, Jian Wushuang? Miss Xiao took a cold glance at Jian Wushuang. I do have some major origin, but your origin is probably even bigger than mine. The 7 Stars Black Sect had already perished completely, this is common knowledge. However, there is now a person who possesses 2 secret skills from the sect and had a deep relationship with it. I'm sure a lot of people from the ancient god domain would be very interested in you, correct? I'm afraid the 3 divine realms, for god tribes, and 8 heavenly sects would find you. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Indeed. Hence, we both have things to worry about, or should I say, we've both got the goods on each other. Why do we have to try to destroy each other? It wouldn't do either of us any good. Why don't we each take a step back and keep the secret for each other? What do you think? Sure. Miss Xiao did not hesitate and nodded right away. She had a demonic mind and could tell what Jian Wushuang said was true. Both of them had huge origins and possessed massive secrets. Most importantly, they had no enmity toward each other, to begin with. All the same, Miss Xiao had no enmity towards 7 Stars Black Sect. On the contrary, they had some friendship. Since that was the case, why would they need to fight each other to death? I can let you live today. When we walk away, we each have to keep the other's secrets and never to tell anyone. Otherwise, we'll fight each other to death, said Miss Xiao frostily. Jian Wushuang nodded and smiled. Of course. Oh yes, how about my senior brothers here? Miss Xiao took a quick look at Xiao Heng and his group who had fainted earlier. You're saying those 5? They're fools and didn't get to know much. However, they also saw me killing Bai Tao and his companions. If I leave them here, it wouldn't be good for me. Miss Xiao, these 5 people came here with me on a mission. If they're all dead and I return as the sole survivor, it would be hard for me to explain when I get back to Narcissus Island. Therefore, I would like to ask for Miss Xiao's mercy again. After this, I'll warn them not to speak a word about what happened today with anyone, said Jian Wushuang. In fact, he did not care if Xiao Heng and the rest were dead or alive. The important crux was, if they really died, he would not know how to explain when he got back to Narcissus Island. Who would believe that 5 core disciples died in the process of carrying out a mission, while a mere outer disciple survived and returned unscathed? Can you guarantee that they won't speak about it? Asked Miss Xiao. Well, Jian Wushuang smiled wryly. He really could not guarantee. After all, it was up to Xiao Heng and the rest of the group if they wanted to talk about it. Furthermore, he did not know them well enough. More so, he could forget about ordering them to do anything. Forget it, even if the word got out, it would just be 9 Stars Palace that I have to face. A bit of extra trouble but nothing too serious. Seeing that you're doing me a favor, I'll let them live, but you have to agree on one condition, said Miss Xiao. What is it? Asked Jian Wushuang. It's simple, you owe me a favor. Although I have no use for it right now, it's a guarantee that I'll need it in the future. When that opportunity comes and I need your help, you cannot decline, said Miss Xiao. Jian Wushuang shook his head hearing that. Miss Xiao, you've probably overestimated the value of these 5 senior brothers of mine. I'm not friends with them, I truly don't care whether they live or die, I just don't want to put myself in a difficult position when I go back. If you want to exchange a favor from me with their lives, it isn't enough. After all, returning a favor could cost much. Though, I do have a suggestion that might interest you. And what is it? Miss Xiao looked over. We can forge an alliance now. If you run into any troubles in the future, I will do everything I can to help. But if I need your help one day, you'll have to help me with all your ability as well, said Jian Wushuang solemnly. He knew that Miss Xiao probably had no hatred against the Seven Stars Black Sect, but might even have a rather close friendship. In addition, it was worthwhile forging an alliance with someone who had such a huge background. After all, his own identity was too sensitive and he had too many enemies. 3 divine realms, 4 god tribes, and 8 heavenly sects were something that he had to face eventually. At that moment, he certainly needed some powerful friends. This Miss Xiao was definitely a rather good choice for a friend. Alliance, huh? Miss Xiao pondered for a moment and slowly nodded her head. Sure, I will forge an alliance with you. Then I wish us a happy alliance. Jian Wushuang laughed heartily. Don't get so happy too soon. I know quite a bit about Seven Stars Black Sect and I know what you have to face from here on. I wouldn't be able to do much myself when the time comes. Miss Xiao froze his enthusiasm right then. Oh, I know. But it's always better than me facing them alone. Besides, this is just the beginning. From now on, I will find ways to make stronger and reliable friends. Jian Wushuang smiled. This is my message token. We can communicate through this token. Miss Xiao passed a token to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang accepted it. Jian Wushuang, I will leave Wushao Wilderness rather soon. Better catch up. Your current ability is still a far cry from being my ally. Little Li, let's go. After she spoke, Miss Xiao turned around and left with Little Li. Chapter 2392. Admonishment. Jian Wushuang stood there watching Miss Xiao and Little Li leave while wearing a wry smile. He could see that his new ally had a sense of dislike towards him. Surely, it was because of his abilities. Abilities? Looks like I need to restore my peak condition as soon as I can and improve my abilities. Otherwise, I really wouldn't be qualified to become her ally. Jian Wushuang sighed but very soon calmed himself down. On the other hand, Miss Xiao and Little Li were on their way back to 100 Flowers Tower. Along the way, Miss, do we really want to forge an alliance with that Jian Wushuang character? Asked a puzzled Little Li. Miss Xiao took a glance at Little Li. Or else? Because of his relationship with Seven Stars Black Sect, I can't possibly kill him. Other than that, his mind was really sharp, being able to see so many things within such a short time. His ability was still a little weak, but one has to know that everybody starts from being weak before reaching the peak. Even the high and mighty master of divine realms is also the same. You have also witnessed his gift. Being a middle-stage chaotic realm, he could cut down second-class divine demons. Although assisted by 2 secret skills of Seven Stars Black Sect, the mere fact that he could achieve that proves he is unusual. He may not be of any use to us currently, but who knows if we might really be able to use him. Little Li said, Understood. After we get back, they'll send someone to watch him closely. Miss Xiao waved her hand. No need. No need to pay attention to him, just let him be. Our target right now is Mu Clan. The clan has been around for so long, it's time for them to disappear. In the empty field half a day later, Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples who fainted gradually regained their consciousness. What happened? What happened to me? They were all puzzled. Looking around them, the corpses were all cleaned up and Jian Wushuang was just casually sitting on the side. As for Miss Xiao and her maid, they were long gone. Senior brothers, you're awake. Jian Wushuang looked over. Junior brother Jian Wushuang, what actually happened? Xiao Heng's attitude towards Jian Wushuang had changed completely. Before that, neither he nor the 4 core disciples treated Jian Wushuang seriously and never addressed him as junior brother Jian Wushuang. They had always directly called his name. However, when they faced him, they felt a sense of respect. Respect. Although they had fainted, they could still clearly remember everything that happened previously. They were completely floored by both Jian Wushuang's abilities and mind. In their eyes, Jian Wushuang should be categorized as a monster. However, They did not understand why was a monster only an outer disciple of Narcissus Island? Nothing, there were just some things that she didn't want you to know, so Miss Xiao temporarily made you lose consciousness, said Jian Wushuang. Xiao Heng finally understood. Is that so? Where is Miss Xiao then? Gone, back to Hundred Flowers Tower. Why, do you actually still want to bring her back to Narcissus Island? Or, would you rather make her stay beside you and possess her completely? Jian Wushuang ridiculed. Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples shuddered when they heard what he said. Possessing Miss Xiao? If it was earlier on, they truly had that thought, but now, the idea had vanished into thin air. They also lost a little bit of craze towards Miss Xiao. In replacement was fear, an incredible fear. Miss Xiao was absolutely the scariest woman they had ever met. They would even call her an absolute demon. Without raising a finger, she manipulated Bai Tao's group and made them kill themselves. What kind of method was that? They shivered just at the thought of that. Senior brothers, even though Miss Xiao has left and did not kill you, but there are some things that I have to clarify with you. Jian Wushuang's tone suddenly became solemn. First, you must forget everything you saw today, including the Mu clan experts and Bai Tao's group. You must forget all of it. I did not kill the Mu clan experts and you've never even seen Bai Tao's group, understand? Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples' hearts skipped. Even though they were not very smart, they were definitely not stupid. They all understood what Jian Wushuang meant. Don't worry, junior brother. The 5 of us will not say a word about what happened here today, said Xiao Heng. That would be best, otherwise, nobody can save you. Even Narcissus Island wouldn't be able to, said Jian Wushuang. Xiao Heng and the rest were shocked, but when they thought of Miss Xiao's method of killing, they understood what he meant. Secondly, we have failed our mission. When we return to Narcissus Island, let's tell the Divine Mystery Pavilion of our opinion on the mission is too dangerous and couldn't find an opportunity to take action, so we gave up. Divine Mystery Pavilion probably wouldn't ask further. Even if they would ask, you can find some excuses and deceive them, said Jian Wushuang. Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples all nodded. The Divine Mystery Pavilion on Narcissus Island was only responsible for assigning missions. They would give rewards for accomplished missions. It was not a big issue either if the mission was not accomplished. The most serious scenario would be punishment and was of little consequences. Divine Mystery Pavilion would not usually ask about the mission's process. Jian Wushuang said, thirdly, Miss Xiao actually wanted to slaughter all 5 of you. But I did all I could, even sacrificing something to convince her to let you live. Due to that, I'm at a great loss, so the 5 of you will have to think of a way to repay me. Naturally. Xiao Heng nodded without hesitation. If it wasn't for you, junior brother Wushuang, the 5 of us would probably have died many times. Of course, we wouldn't let you go through a bigger loss, said one of the core disciples. Jian Wushuang laughed inside. He did not quite fancy the 5 of them. Of course, he would take some advantage out of them given the opportunity. Well, the actual price wasn't something big, just some elixirs that helped raise divine power. The only thing is that it's quite a lot. Jian Wushuang began to tell his story. After a round of discussion, Xiao Heng and the 4 core disciples finally decided to give Jian Wushuang 90% of the elixir that they had. While in the next 3 years, they would also give him all the resources that they could get as core disciples on Narcissus Island. This was as good as severe bleeding to the 5 of them, but they had no complaints. After all, between precious resources and their lives, it was obvious that the latter was more important. Jian Wushuang took a huge advantage from the 5 of them, in addition to the interspatial rings that he obtained from all the Mu clan experts that he killed. Only the interspatial rings of Bai Tao and his companions were taken by Miss Xiao. It was safe to say that he had a massive gain from this trip. Chapter 2393, The Only Possibility Narcissus Island, Pavilion of Divine Mystery. Jian Wushuang and his group who returned from Logu territory were reporting the results of their task in the Pavilion of Divine Mystery. They failed to complete the given task. Although disciplinary elders were surprised by the outcome, they did not question any further. After that, Jian Wushuang went his separate ways with Xiao Heng and others at the Divine Mystery Pavilion. Jian Wushuang had explicitly requested them not to spread the news of his strength as he did not want to be noticed. He preferred to be just an outer disciple in Narcissus Island while taking his time to slowly recover his strength. Xiao Heng and his group agreed without hesitation. However, Elder Wu Jin was not about to allow Jian Wushuang to enjoy the calm and tranquil life that he anticipated. On the night that Jian Wushuang returned to Narcissus Island, Elder Wu Jin went to the outer court himself and found Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, what's the matter? I've heard about the task at Luogu territory. Although it was a little difficult, it should be easy with your abilities. How could you all fail? Elder Wu Jin frowned and sat down. He had received news from the Divine Mystery Pavilion that Jian Wushuang had failed in his mission. Elder Wu Jin paid particular interest in the mission as he had handpicked that for Jian Wushuang. However, the outcome was out of his expectations. Elder Wu Jin, you have had too high hopes for me. Even senior brother Xiao Heng and the others couldn't handle it. How could I be of much help? Jian Wushuang derided himself. You kid, don't pretend in front of me. The others might not know you, but I do. Let's be frank about it. What's going on? Asked Elder Wu Jin. Jian Wushuang paused as Elder Wu Jin knew about his strength. It was not going to be easy for him to play dumb. Jian Wushuang replied instantly, Elder Wu Jin, let me tell you this. This mission is not as simple as you imagined. The second Miss Mu, which we were supposed to rescue, was not an easy one. The mission was not something that could be done effortlessly by me, senior brother Xiao Heng, and the rest. Even if I tried my best, I'm still unable to do it. As for the specific reasons, it's not convenient for me to say anymore, but it will not take long before you find out. Elder Wu Jin frowned. Oh, a task which you can't solve even with your full effort. This is interesting. Did you say that the second Miss Mu is not as easy one? Now, that's interesting. Do you want me to find out more about the second Miss Mu? Jian Wushuang waved his hand. No. Elder Wu Jin, this mission has nothing to do with Narcissus Island, so I advise you not to get involved. Otherwise, I'm afraid that neither you nor Narcissus Island could afford to pay the consequences. Elder Wu Jin's complexion changed slightly. Even Narcissus Island could not handle the consequences? Was it that severe and terrorizing? Elder Wu Jin smiled slightly. Fine. I'm not someone who purposely snoops around for trouble. Since you have said so, I will just put the matter at rest. I'll arrange a new task for you in a few days since you have failed to complete this one. Jian Wushuang shook his head again. There is no need for it. Elder Wu Jin, I know what I need most at this point, so please don't burden me with any task. If you mean well for me, you can help me find these materials, which I need for crafting something. Materials for crafting? Alright, what do you need? I'll get the people to immediately send it to you, said Elder Wu Jin with a smile. He did not take those crafting materials seriously because he had known Jian Wushuang was a middle-stage chaotic realm. He had never thought that a middle-stage chaotic realm would request for anything extraordinary. Narcissus Island was one of the top 10 sects among the many sects in the Wuxia wilderness. He could quickly come up with any common refining materials. Elder Wu Jin, you'd better take a look before you promise me. Jian Wushuang smiled lightly and took out a list. Elder Wu Jin took it and briefly glanced through it. His hands were trembling as he went wide-eyed. Jian Wushuang, are these the materials you are looking for? Elder Wu Jin's surprised expression was rather entertaining to look at. That was the list of materials needed to craft a life armor. Red Sun Secret Essence, Red Blood Fruit, Purple Shimmer, Spectacular Beast Scales, and Celestial Iron Oregon. Among them, it required 4 portions of Red Sun Secret Essence, 5 Red Blood Fruit, 2 drops of Purple Shimmer, 100 pieces of the Spectacular Beast Scales, 10,000 caddies of Celestial Iron Ore. Elder Wu Jin, is there a problem? Asked Jian Wushuang with a smile. Elder Wu Jin roared, is there a problem? Of course, there is a problem. Jian Wushuang, do you know the value of these crafting materials that you are looking for? Red Sun Secret Essence, Red Blood Fruit, Purple Shimmer, and Spectacular Beast Scales. Which one of these were not nearly extinct in the Wuxia wilderness? Celestial Iron Ore is the only common material I see from the list, but you need a whopping 10,000 caddies of it. How on earth do I get hold of so many? Let's not talk about if we have all these in Narcissus Island. Even if they are available, I can't possibly single-handedly give them away. Elder Wu Jin was speechless. He had thought of using his authority as an elder to grant Jian Wushuang's wishes of getting any crafting materials that he needed. However, he was perplexed to see the list of materials that Jian Wushuang was looking for. So, you really don't have them? Jian Wushuang raised his brows. He did not look surprised. Elder Wu Jin, I really need these things. Forget about it if you don't have them in Narcissus Island. I hope that Elder Wu Jin will look around for me. If these things appear in Wuxia Wilderness in the future, please tell me, said Jian Wushuang humbly. Elder Wu Jin nodded. Yes. My advice for you is not to have much hope, as for these things are not easily available even to a strong expert who is beyond the divine demon realm. An expert like that might be able to locate a thing or two out of the list with his influence. Still, it's almost impossible for you to get so many of them within the Wuxia Wilderness unless you can get the Great Compassionate Sect to come forward. The Great Compassion Sect is the #1 sect in the Wuxia Wilderness and has the deepest and strongest foundation. I think the Great Compassion Sect might have some of the materials you need. If you could make use of its influence to collect the rest of it, you may stand a chance to find them all. Is that so? Jian Wushuang nodded slightly as an idea sprouted in his heart. Nonetheless, Elder Wu Jin never thought that Jian Wushuang could do it. All right, Jian Wushuang, if you intend to be just an outer disciple, then you can carry on with your cultivation here. They'll make a move. Elder Wu Jin left. Jian Wushuang was lost in thought. The Great Compassion Sect? Only the Great Compassion Sect in the entire Wuxia Wilderness could collect these crafting materials? Thought Jian Wushuang. If I had known this, I should have accepted the invitation from the county of Anjiu Commandery to join the Great Compassion Sect. Perhaps I could easily get hold of these materials, murmured Jian Wushuang. He was just toying with the idea of joining the Great Compassion Sect, as the fact remains that he was reluctant to do so. Chapter 2394. The Fall of Mu Clan. Jian Wushuang spent his remaining time as an outer disciple on Narcissus Island. With the support of many elixir pills and nature treasures, Jian Wushuang managed to very quickly recover his strength. Half a year passed in a blink of an eye. Narcissus Island was as calm as ever, but a major event happened in the Wuxia Wilderness within the 6 months. The Mu clan was one of the strongest families in the Wuxia Wilderness. Although it was only a family, in terms of background and strength it was no weaker than some second-tier sect. It might even be stronger. Such a family was relentlessly destroyed by someone. The interesting fact was that person who destroyed the Mu clan was none other than their second Miss Mu Xiaoxiao, who was taken away more than 10 years ago. The entire Wuxia Wilderness was shaken up when the news was released, creating an uproar. Everyone was shocked by the action of this Miss Xiao. She was only 7 to 8 years old when she was taken away more than 10 years ago. She was not even 20 years old when she took the action against her own family. The naive little girl had attained such a terrifying power in just over 10 years and even destroyed the Mu clan in one blow. Besides, there was news that in the battle to destroy the Mu clan, there were more than 50 first-class divine demons backing Miss Xiao alone. There were also 8 peak stage divine demons, and most importantly, there was also an ultimate god who took action for her. Ultimate gods were above the divine demon realm. Someone at that level was not a powerhouse in the vast ancient god domain, but that person was definitely at the world's top in the Wuxia Wilderness. Ultimate gods were supreme experts of top sects in the Wuxia Wilderness. The Lord of Narcissus Island, for one, was an ultimate god. The Great Compassion Sect was the top sect in the Wuxia Wilderness, and they had 3 ultimate gods, which was why they were extremely powerful. In the battle where the Mu clan was destroyed, there were a total of 3 ultimate gods who were part of it. 3 ultimate gods, 8 peak stage divine demons, more than 50 first-class divine demons, some second-class divine demons, and countless third-class divine demons were the force that destroyed the Mu clan. The power was so overwhelming that it was no wonder the Mu clan was smashed without any trace of resistance. However, such a terrifying force, which includes 3 ultimate gods, were completely subservient to one person, which was Miss Xiao. That was incredible. No one knew what Miss Xiao did to have so many supreme experts obey her. The only certainty was that the power in her hands was enough to stir up a storm in the entire Wuxia wilderness. Even the Great Compassion sect dared not underestimate the young lattice power. Many sects and supreme experts began collecting information about Miss Xiao. They sent people to watch over Miss Xiao's movements. Those sects were all worried about what possible acts Miss Xiao would do after destroying the Mu clan, such as annexing one or two sects and creating a new force to contend with the Great Compassion sect. In the eyes of many sects, that was completely possible as the probability of occurrence was rather high. It was a pity that they had looked down on this Miss Xiao. Miss Xiao had an extraordinary background and her vision was no longer on the small Wuxia wilderness. She had decided to destroy the Mu clan only because they had offended her. She could not be bothered to go against the other sections. Miss Xiao immediately left after smashing the Mu clan. She sent a message to Jian Wushuang when she left. Jian Wushuang, I'll make a move first. You can stay in Wuxia wilderness and slowly regain your strength. If you can't keep up with my pace in the future, then never look for me again. Upon receiving the message, Jian Wushuang shook his head and chuckled. Miss Xiao is clever as she is a reincarnate with great power. It's only natural that her strength could recover very quickly but indifferent. Jian Wushuang knew very well that even when he was at his previous live's peak, he was in the divine demon realm. He was only able to break through the divine demon realm using the reincarnation passage at the last moment. Besides, he was a perfect chaotic creature and this identity made it difficult for him to accumulate divine power as compared to ordinary cultivators. Under those circumstances, it would naturally take a longer period of time for him to restore his power back to its peak. Even if his power was restored to its peak, he would probably be unable to quickly make progress in his realm. A perfect chaotic creature had terrifying combat power with the capabilities to contend against people of a much higher level. It is not an ability for cultivating power or progressing realms. What I want to do is to steadily fight step by step to the peak and not just blindly pursue the realm with speed, muttered Jian Wushuang. Of course, that only mattered after he returned to divine demon realm. The main objective now was for him to focus on improving his realm. In the past 6 months, Jian Wushuang had recovered his power at top speed with cultivation resources and elixir pills to enhance his divine power. Just 5 days ago, he broke through again and achieved peak stage chaotic realm. The peak stage chaotic realm was equivalent to the great emperor realm of the eternal chaotic world. It was safe to say that Jian Wushuang had reached his previous live's peak power or even stronger than that. Moreover, Jian Wushuang had long understood the laws. Hence, he could be considered a half-step divine demon realm, only half a step away from being the chaotic divine demon. At the same time, after Jian Wushuang broke through and reached the peak stage chaotic realm, he could start cultivating the second level of primordial void celestial body. With his previous live's cultivation experience, it would be an easy task, and as his divine body improved, his divine power would become more pure and refined. Half a year ago, I was only in the middle stage chaotic realm with the first level of primordial void celestial body, but my combat power was comparable to the first-class divine demons. In terms of overall power, I am afraid that only a few first-class divine demons could be my opponents. Jian Wushuang smiled. His divine power had reached a whole new level in just 6 months. Although his improvement was not small, it was not at a terrifying speed. Jian Wushuang was clear that in order for him to make unprecedented improvements was to cross over from the chaotic realm to divine demon realm. Firstly, the gap between the divine demon realm and the chaotic realm was huge. Secondly, which was also the most important part, once he reached the divine demon realm, his perfect chaotic creature would be truly complete. The advantages of being a perfect chaotic creature would be revealed to him one by one. That would be the real transformation. It's coming. It won't take long before I can truly reach the divine demon realm. Jian Wushuang clasped his hands together tightly as his eyes gleamed with anticipation. Chapter 2395. Nomination. While Jian Wushuang was still secretly recovering his strength, something had happened in a towering palace at Narcissus Island. Almost all Narcissus Island's circle of elders were gathered in the palace, except for a few elders who had retired and rarely showed interest in what was going on. In the center of the palace, seated a plainly dressed middle-aged man. He had stubbles on his face and was dressed in an ordinary shade of green. He was an elegant-looking man and seemed to be an affable person. The many elders who had gathered around, including the 3 peak stage divine demon elders, looked at the middle-aged man with awe and respect. The middle-aged man was the lord of Narcissus Island and his name was Ling Gong. He was also the only ultimate god known to Narcissus Island. Then again, that was the public's common knowledge. It was unknown as to whether there secretly were other ultimate gods in Narcissus Island. Dear elders, you must have guessed the purpose of this meeting? Ling Gong's voice echoed gently. Lord, it's regarding the saint's tomb that's about to open? Asked the 7th elder. Ling Gong nodded. Indeed, it's regarding the saint's tomb. After 1,000 years, it's time for Saint's tomb to open again. This is not only a major event for Narcissus Island, but also for all the sects of the Wuxia wilderness. We are gathered here to meet and discuss which candidates to enter the saint's tomb. Like all previous events, Narcissus Island gets to send 10 candidates into the saint's tomb. In addition, there are 3 safety tokens available. Now, the crux is which 10 disciples shall we send into the tomb and which 3 disciples will be given the safety tokens. Fellow elders, you may voice out. The elders around started discussions immediately. Lord, there are known to be many opportunities in the saint's tomb, hence countless Narcissus Island's disciples are eager to enter it. However, don't forget there are also great dangers in the tomb. Many disciples from many sects had been sacrificed in every single trip into the tomb. 3,000 years ago, Narcissus Island had also suffered a great loss of disciples. Therefore, we have to be cautious in selecting the best candidates. Those 10 disciples must not only have a certain level of talent and strength to gain benefits from the many opportunities in the tomb, but also possess the abilities to keep themselves alive, said an elder. Ling Gong and other elders agreed in unison. The saint's tomb was a place with many possibilities, yet it posed a great risk for the conquerors. Not any Tom, Dick and Harry could get in there. The candidates would be carefully selected and their strengths from many aspects would be considered in the process. Currently, Zhong Yi and Su Tong are the best among my core disciples in Narcissus Island. They are already first-class divine demons and also very talented. They must go into the tomb and should also each be given a safety token, said 7th elder. Zhong Yi and Su Tong? The elders nodded. The 2 disciples with the strongest power and talent would have to enter the saint's tomb and there was no need to worry about their lives being endangered as they would be given the safety token. My personal disciple is rather good. I want him to have experience and learn a thing or two in the saint's tomb. Is it feasible? A white-haired old woman suddenly spoke. Everyone turned around immediately to look at the old woman. The old woman was the 2nd elder of the Circle of Elders. She was a peak stage divine demon and had high seniority. Her words carried a certain degree of weight and authority. Moreover, she was nominating her personal disciple, which was indeed not a bad choice. Her personal disciple was equipped with the conditions to enter the saint's tomb. Everyone agreed to it almost immediately after a short discussion. Among the core disciples, Xiao Heng seems to be performing well and has made rapid progress. He has just made a breakthrough some time ago and reached the 2nd-class divine demons. He should be given a chance at the saint's tomb, said another elder. The other elders went into discussion again. Xiao Heng was indeed remarkable among the many core disciples of Narcissus Island. Besides, he had broken through and reached the 2nd-class divine demons. Hence, the elders agreed after a brief discussion. Thereafter, some elders began to mention names. Those that were proposed and accepted by the elders as a candidate were core disciples. Without an exception, they were 2nd-class divine demons with outstanding combat power. Soon, 7 places were filled while many elders were still in a heated discussion on who should take up the final 3 places. Let me nominate someone. Elder Wu Jin, who was seated aside, finally spoke. Elder Wu Jin was one of the elders among the Circle of Elders. Although he had not taken up the elder's position for long, he had a right to speak. The other elders anticipated quietly for who he was about to nominate. I want to nominate Jian Wushuang. I think he is qualified to enter the saint's tomb, said Elder Wu Jin. However, many elders around were doubtful after hearing him out. They were doubtful of the name, Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang? Who is that? The name sounds unfamiliar. I don't seem to have heard of it. Is there someone by the name of Jian Wushuang among the core disciples of Narcissus Island? The elders were actively discussing. The elders of the Circle of Elders held very high status in Narcissus Island. They did not need to be bothered by many issues on Narcissus Island, nor did they pay attention to the many disciples on Narcissus Island. Occasionally, when those exceptional core disciples caught their attention, they would offer to recruit those suitable ones under their wings as their personal disciples. In other words, only the core disciples would pique their interest. They had never heard of Jian Wushuang. Apart from Elder Wu Jin, someone else also happened to know Jian Wushuang. The person was the seventh elder. When Jian Wushuang had just arrived on Narcissus Island, the seventh elder discovered that Elder Wu Jin had handed his elder's token to Jian Wushuang, an outer disciple. He was very angry, so he went to Elder Wu Jin and rebuked him. It was a pity that Elder Wu Jin turned a deaf ear to his advice. There was nothing he could do. Things were no longer the same. Elder Wu Jin, will you stop fooling around? The seventh elder's expression was cold as he expressed his sharp disapproval. The other elders were flabbergasted, including Lord Ling Gong. Seventh elder, you said that Elder Wu Jin was fooling around. What was going on? Asked Ling Gong while looking down from his seat. Lord and fellow elders, I'm afraid that you have never heard of Jian Wushuang. However, this is perfectly normal because Jian Wushuang is not one of the core disciples of the inner court. He's merely an outer disciple from the outer court, said the seventh elder. What? An outer disciple? The faces of the many elders turned ugly. Even Ling Gong frowned after hearing that. Chapter 2396, Special Quota, Elder Wu Jin, is Jian Wushuang an outer disciple? Ling Gong looked over to his direction. Yes, Elder Wu Jin admitted. Ling Gong frowned deeper. Although that young man is only an outer disciple, he is much more talented than many core disciples. It's no exaggeration to say that he is the most remarkable genius I've ever seen. Elder Wu Jin added. The seventh elder sneered, what a joke. If he really has such a phenomenal talent as you said, then why is he just an outer disciple? The assessment for core disciples is always open in Narcissus Island. As long as he is capable, he could become a core disciple at any time. Yet, he still stays as an outer disciple, doesn't he? Elder Wu Jin's expression changed slightly. The seventh elder was speaking the truth. As long as he passed the harsh test, Jian Wushuang could be promoted as the core disciple of Narcissus Island and he could attempt the test at any time. Jian Wushuang had never attempted the test. Many people would assume that Jian Wushuang did not attempt the test because he knew he had not achieved the ability to pass the test. In fact, Elder Wu Jin knew very well that Jian Wushuang did not want to be a core disciple. However, he could not say it out loud. All I want to say is that this young man is very talented. If he goes to the saint's tomb, he will definitely gain a lot, said Elder Wu Jin with a serious face. Huh? Gain a lot? Elder Wu Jin, I'm curious to know how you are related to the young man. I wonder if he is your illegitimate son as the rumor which spread among the disciples? How could a dignified elder speak nonsense for the young man? The seventh elder snorted coldly. Are you crazy, Jean? Do you even hear yourself? Anger was burning in Elder Wu Jin's eyes. What? Was I wrong? The seventh elder stared down at Elder Wu Jin with sarcasm. You! Elder Wu Jin was furious. All right, shut up. Ling Gong finally spoke. His tone was gentle but firm. Elder Wu Jin and the seventh elder instantly stopped arguing. Seventh elder, you said that Elder Wu Jin was talking nonsense. What made you say so? Ling Gong glanced at the seventh elder. Lord and fellow elders, we all knew how dangerous the saint's tomb is. That's the reason we nominated core disciples who are from the second-class divine demons or even higher ranked than second-class divine demons. Do you know what Jian Wushuang rank is? Elder Wu Jin, I'll let you tell everyone the answer. The seventh elder smiled coldly. The other elders all had their eyes on Elder Wujian. Elder Wujian's expression sank, but he did not keep quiet. Lord and fellow elders. Jian Wushuang's realm is indeed lower. He probably has just broken through and reached the peak stage chaotic realm, but his combat power is exceptional. I dare say that his ability is by no means weaker than a second-class divine demon. The seventh elder sneered. Hi, you all heard him. Elder Wujian had the cheek to say that Jian Wushuang, a young man who just broke through the peak of chaotic realm, actually possesses the power of a second-class divine demon. Do you all believe him? I wouldn't trust a word he said. The other elders furrowed their brows slightly. The chaotic realm and the divine demon realm were too far apart. A peak stage chaotic realm and one who had just broken through was barely able to compete against an ordinary third-class divine demon. However, to be comparable to the power of a second-class divine demon was indeed impossible. Even if there was such a genius, it was not possible to happen in the small Wuxia wilderness. Elder Wujian, what is going on? Ling Gong looked over. Lord and fellow elders, I know that you may not believe it. Jian Wushuang would also never make a move to prove his abilities, but he truly possesses the power of a second-class divine demon or even stronger than that. I'll definitely let him into the saint's tomb, said Wu Jian in a somber voice. Definitely let him in? The expressions of the people around turned grave and they seemed to have been reminded of something. Elder Wu Jian, are you planning to use your special quota? The seventh elder squinted slightly and studied Elder Wujian's face. Elder Wujian nodded. Yes. According to the rules of Narcissus Island. As one the elder of the Circle of Elders, not only do I have an elder's token, but I also have a special quota to nominate someone to enter the saint's tomb. Although I only have one chance to use the special quota and will no longer have it in the future after using it, I'll use the special quota for the young man now. The special quota was the same as an elder's tokens and each elder had only one chance to exercise his right. It can be used to allow a disciple to enter the saint's tomb, regardless of the disciple's rank and strength. Once the quota was used, it would be gone forever. The saint's tomb would open up again and again, but the elder would no longer be able to nominate someone with the special quota. That was why the elders saw that as something absolutely important and would never use it without careful considerations. Yet, Elder Wujian was giving his quota away to Jian Wushuang. The seventh elder roared. Crazy, you must be crazy. Elder Wujian, do you know the importance of this special quota? You have just become an elder not long ago and there will be countless geniuses in the future, but you are giving both your elder's token and special quota away to the young man. Do you have so much confidence in him? Yes, I would put my trust in him. What can you do about it? Elder Wujian was not willing to submit to the pressure. He directed his gaze at Ling Gong again and announced solemnly, Lord, I recommend Jian Wushuang to the saint's tomb with my special quota. Could this be done? Ling Gong looked hard at Elder Wujian and then nodded. No one could object to you using your special quota to nominate him as a candidate. Not even me. Elder Wujian's eyes suddenly lit up. All right, now 8 places have been confirmed. Only the last 2 are left. Let's continue the discussion, said Ling Gong. The elders continued discussing and soon, the last 2 slots have been determined. 10 candidates were identified and Jian Wushuang was one of them. Although Jian Wushuang had the qualifications to enter the saint's tomb, he could not get the safety token. Nothing could be done about it as there were only 3 safety tokens. Zhong Yi and Su Tong, who was recognized as the top 2 in talent and strength, each received one. The last one was given to a core disciple with stronger power but weaker life-saving abilities. Of course, there was nothing left for Jian Wushuang. After the candidates were determined, the elders left one after another. When they were leaving, they all gave Elder Wujian a strange look. The 7th elder could not help but ridicule Elder Wujian at every chance he got. Elder Wujian did not bother to pay attention to them. He went straight to the outer court to look for Jian Wushuang. Chapter 2397, Saint's Tomb Outer Court, inside the courtyard where Jian Wushuang lived. Jian Wushuang. Elder Wujian appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Elder Wujian, it's rare for you to visit me. What's going on? Have you got news of those materials that I asked for your help to look out for? Jian Wushuang smiled and looked at Elder Wu Jin. The materials that you are looking for are extremely rare. How could I possibly locate them in such a short time? I came to see you today for something else. Jian Wushuang, have you heard of the saint's tomb? Elder Wu Jin had a straight face. Saint's tomb? Jian Wushuang's heart shook. He stayed in the blazing moon city as a teenager in his current life and liked reading biographies which mentioned many special places in the Wuxia wilderness, dangerous places, and so on. At the same time, those biographies also recorded some peak experts. The saint's tomb was one of the places Jian Wushuang came across in a biography. I've heard of the saint's tomb. It seems to be a place where a Wuxia wilderness peak expert left behind a long time ago, said Jian Wushuang. Yes, but it's not a long time. It was only 300,000 to 400,000 years ago. At that time, Wuxia wilderness situation was almost the same as now. The major sects were presented with the Great Compassion sect was still recognized as the top sect at that time. The only difference was that although the Great Compassion sect was extremely tyrannical, there was someone else with an even more terrifying existence in the Wuxia wilderness. That person's existence was so overbearing that even the Great Compassion sect was respectful of him and didn't dare to provoke the person. That person was the Crimson Stone Saint, said Elder Wu Jin. Jian Wushuang knew everything in his heart. He had read some legends about the saint's tomb and knew a little of the Crimson Stone Saint. Crimson Stone Saint. In order to obtain the saint title, he was naturally an undying saint. During the ancient god domain days, a cultivator first became a god, then a transformed god, pure yang, chaotic, and above the chaotic was the divine demon. Above the divine demon realm was the ultimate god. The undying saint was beyond the ultimate gods. Such an expert was regarded as someone prominent even in the entire ancient god domain. A real expert was highly regarded no matter where he was. An undying saint would naturally be the absolute powerhouse in the small Wuxia wilderness. Although the Great Compassion sect was great, an undying saint could easily destroy anything with a flip of his hand. Therefore, the Great Compassion sect naturally would be respectful of the Crimson Stone Saint. The Crimson Stone Saint was born in the Wuxia wilderness, but when he became a first-class divine demon, he left the Wuxia wilderness and went to roam the outside world. When he returned again, he was already a lofty undying saint and probably was the only undying saint born in the Wuxia wilderness in these hundreds of thousands of years, commented Elder Wu Jin admiringly. Undying saint had an immortal body and such cultivation level was hard to attain. There were countless cultivators in the Wuxia wilderness, but it was already considered good to be able to produce an undying saint in the hundreds of thousands of years. For some small territories, there might not even be one undying saint in millions of years. After the Crimson Stone Saint returned to the Wuxia wilderness, he stayed in the Wuxia wilderness for a long time, but his condition did not seem well. He was in a weakened state. At that time, many experts in the Wuxia wilderness thought that the Crimson Stone Saint must have sustained serious injuries or been poisoned to the point of beyond salvation. He had only stayed in the Wuxia wilderness for a few thousand years. After a few thousand years, there was news that the Crimson Stone Saint had fallen. At that time, all the sects and countless experts in the Wuxia wilderness felt sorry for the Crimson Stone Saint. However, 300,000 years after the Crimson Stone Saint died, which was approximately tens of thousands of years ago, someone accidentally found the saint's tomb that he left behind. This saint's tomb was the cemetery of Crimson Stone Saint. He knew that he wouldn't live long, so he created it during the time he stayed in the Wuxia wilderness. He had accumulated many treasures and countless opportunities in his life and buried them within the tomb. After the saint's tomb was discovered, various sects of Wuxia wilderness and countless experts had gone crazy. Everyone was eager to enter the tomb and obtain the many treasures left behind. Unfortunately, the saint's tomb was specially prepared for the younger cultivators. There are restrictions in the tomb and those above ultimate gods couldn't enter at all. Even peak stage divine demons had to suffer quite a lot once they entered the tomb. Therefore, the only ones who could enter the saint's tomb were those below the peak stage divine demons level. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang's eyes strangely flashed. The Crimson Stone Saint knew that he was about to die, but before he died, he left behind a saint's tomb? It's also specially prepared for the younger generation. The purpose of him doing this was perhaps not merely for the benefit of the cultivator in his hometown. I'm guessing he was probably also looking for a suitable heir? Mumbled Jian Wushuang under his breath. He had experienced many of those caves and tombs that were left behind by experts in his previous life. They usually had their personal agendas for leaving those caves or tombs behind. In many cases, they wanted to find a suitable heir. The Crimson Stone Saint was probably not an exception. Jian Wushuang even guessed that the saint had probably left part of his consciousness behind in the tomb. Elder Wu Jian, you came to me today and talked about the saint's tomb. Is the saint's tomb about to open? Asked Jian Wushuang. Elder Wu Jian nodded. Yes. The saint's tomb opens every 1,000 years, and it has been exactly 1,000 years since the last time it was opened. It will be opened again in a month's time. There have been discussions among the sects that each sect has some quotas on the number of candidates that could be sent to enter the tombs according to their strengths. Narcissus Island has 10 quotas. The Lord and elders had a discussion of who would enter the tomb. You are among one of the 10. Am I? Jian Wushuang looked weird. He knew his identity of being only an outer disciple of Narcissus Island, and he had hardly shown his strength in front of people. There were not many people who knew of his strengths, and they would never spread the news. Under such circumstances, how could he possibly be nominated? Jian Wushuang knew that Elder Wu Jian probably fought for his place. Elder Wu Jian. Although you are one of the elders of the Circle of Elders, the seats to enter the saint's tomb wouldn't come easy. It must have been a tough fight for me to be one of the conquerors, asked Jian Wushuang in a straightforward manner. It's not easy, but the effort pays off. Anyway, the candidates are now decided. 1 month later, you can go to the saint's tomb with the other 9 core disciples, said Elder Wu Jian. Chapter 2398. 4 opportunities. Although Elder Wu Jian did not say much, a sense of gratitude rose in Jian Wushuang's heart. Elder Wu Jian was indeed very good to him. Elder Wu Jian, although I've heard of the saint's tomb, I don't know much about it. I don't know what are the opportunities that lie within the tomb. Can you tell me about it? Asked Jian Wushuang. The saint's tomb was specially left behind by the Crimson Stone Saint before his death. There are countless treasures and opportunities, and they are roughly divided into 4 kinds. Elder Wu Jian began to narrate. Firstly, there are many nature treasures collected by the Crimson Stone Saint in his lifetime. There are various elixir pills, cultivation manuals, and secret skills that are scattered in every corner of the tomb. Although many of these treasures are extremely precious and rare, the saint's tomb has been opened many times since it was discovered. Many of those treasures have been collected, and there are only very few left in the tomb. It all depends on your luck to get whatever you could. Like the kinds of crafting materials that you wanted me to look out for you, there might be 1 or 2 of them in the saint's tomb, but they are well hidden and might be difficult to find. Jian Wushuang raised his brows. He understood that those treasures were scattered in random corners of the tomb, and since the tomb had been opened so many times, those easily found treasures would have been taken away. The remaining treasures that had not been found were hard to find. The second opportunity was the Divine Power Ocean. Elder Wu Jian continued. There is an incomparably huge ocean in the saint's tomb, and the Divine Power Ocean contains incomparably pure ancient gods' divine powers. A cultivator could get into the ocean and take up the divine powers within to level up his divine powers. As for his power improvement speed, it depends on the cultivator's divine power absorption speed. In short, being able to cultivate in the divine power ocean is better than slowly accumulating divine powers by yourself or to swallow some elixir pills. The effect is faster by many folds. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang looked interested. Ancient gods' divine powers? He recalled that in his past life, he went to the ancient god divine pond to accumulate divine powers. The ancient god divine pond was transformed from a drop of an ancient god's divine power with the help of the formation skill. The pond was a great help to him. The ancient god divine pond that was merely transformed from a drop of an ancient god's divine power was already extremely helpful. It was not hard to imagine what the divine power ocean that was transformed from an ancient god's divine power in the saint's tomb could bring for him. I need to level up my divine power to restore my strength to its peak, the divine power ocean. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes as his strong desire was written all over his face. Elder Wu Jian continued. In the saint's tomb, there is a condition if you want to enter the divine power ocean. The condition is the purple amulet. The purple amulet is something unique in the tomb, and most of them are scattered among the outer area of the saint's tomb. There are quite a number of them in the outer area of the tomb, about hundreds of them at each time. One purple amulet could earn you a month in the divine power ocean. Therefore, any cultivator who entered the tomb would stay in the tomb's outer area for a period to accumulate as many purple amulets as possible. How many a person could collect depends on his luck. Usually, one could get about a dozen purple amulets, which allows the person to stay in the divine power ocean for a year. Even if one has extremely bad luck, it was still possible to get 1 or 2 purple amulets. The divine power accumulated from the ocean in the 2 months' time would be far better than cultivating it for years through blood and sweat. Jian Wushuang got all the information he needed. He was at the peak stage chaotic realm and was only 1 step away from the divine demon realm. He lacked the accumulation of divine power. Even with the aid of many elixir pills, it was estimated to take a year or 2, maybe even longer had he cultivated on his own using his usual way. If he could get to the divine power ocean, he could save a lot of time. The third opportunity in the saint's tomb is the inner area's 9 major tests, continued Elder Wu Jin. The 9 major tests were specially designed by the Crimson Stone Saint. Each test is challenging, and not many could pass it through. However, if one could pass it, one would get the many opportunities that come along with those tough tests. The opportunities are some precious things such as weapons, secret skills, insights, and even inheritance. Inheritance. Jian Wushuang was surprised to hear that. You heard me right, inheritance. It's the Crimson Stone Saint's inheritance. He left his inheritance in one of the tests. As long as one passes the test, one would be able to gain several powerful secret skills that he cultivated during his lifetime, including the combat skills which he invented, some important treasures, and more. This is the biggest opportunity one could gain in the tomb. It's a pity that the saint's tomb has been opened so many times. I don't know how many geniuses have tried to overcome those tests, but they all failed miserably. The inheritance was still intact, but the other tests. Initially, there were 16 tests in the tomb. However, as the tomb has been opened again and again, some people have managed to pass 7 of the tests and collected the opportunities within. There are only 9 tests left, said Elder Wu Jin. Jian Wushuang secretly let out a sigh. After all, the Crimson Stone Saint was a super expert at the level of an undying saint. How could an ordinary person get his inheritance? The conditions of those tests must be extremely harsh. In recent years, there were not many geniuses produced in the Wuxia wilderness. That was probably why none had successfully attained the inheritance. Elder Wu Jin, you said that there are 4 opportunities in the saint's tomb, but you have only told me 3 of them. What is the last one? Asked Jian Wushuang. The last opportunity. Elder Wu Jin paused before saying, it's Feng'an Scroll. Jian Wushuang frowned. Fengtian Scroll? What's that? Elder Wu Jin said, I don't exactly know what it is, but it must be very valuable as the scroll is hidden in the deepest part of the inner area. It will only appear at the last moment. It contains everything about cosmic mysteries and could bring a lot of benefits to cultivators. Every time the saint's tomb is opened, there will be 6 seats up for grabs to have a look at the Fengtian Scroll. The 6 seats will appear one after another in the inner area. The genius disciples of all the sects in the Wuxia wilderness will frantically fight for the 6 seats. Fight? Do all genius disciples of the sects desire a seat? Asked Jian Wushuang solemnly. Yes, the Fengtian Scroll is extremely useful for cultivators, but I'm not sure how. After all, I've never personally gone to have a look. The only certainty was whoever gets a seat to look at the scroll will greatly improve in their perception of the laws, understanding of the rules, and so on, explained Elder Wu Jin seriously. Chapter 2399. A month later, the perception of the laws, understanding of rules, and so on will be greatly improved? Upon hearing that, Jian Wushuang was a little excited. Most opportunities in the saint's tomb were merely an accumulation of divine power, which was just a matter of time to him. He did not care too much about them. The 9-step test of the inner area accompanied by the 9 great opportunities might sound appealing. However, it came with harsh conditions and there might not be things that Jian Wushuang wanted, so he was not very keen either. On the other hand, the Fenshin scroll was a different ballgame. Perception of laws and the understanding of rules were completely different from the accumulation of divine power. They were skills that needed oneself to slowly cultivate. It was heavily dependent on one's ability and might take up a lot of time. This Feng Tian scroll could significantly improve the perception of laws and understanding of rules, which was an excellent opportunity for any cultivator. Jian Wushuang was no exception. It's such a great help. No wonder geniuses from various sects try their best to fight for a seat. Unfortunately, only 6 seats are available every time the tomb is opened. There are so many sects in the Wuxia wilderness and the total number of genius disciples entering the tomb is probably a lot. With so many people competing for 6 seats, the competition will be extremely tough, said Jian Wushuang. Elder Wu Jian nodded in agreement. Indeed, it's tough. Every time the tomb is opened, genius disciples of various sects can gain a lot from it. At the same time, there are a lot of risks, hence many genius disciples will also die in the tomb. Their deaths were not only from the crisis they faced in the tomb but also from the 6 seats competition. It was a bloody fight every single time. Hence, the safety token is particularly important. The safety token which came from within the saint's tomb could only be used in the tomb itself. Once the cultivator crushes the safety token, that person who crushes it will be immediately teleported out from the tomb regardless of the situation. It's a life-saving tool when facing a life or death situation. Unfortunately, there are only 3 such safety tokens in Narcissus Island. Although I tried my best to get you a place to enter the saint's tomb, I can't get you a safety token. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. I'm grateful that Elder Wu Jian was able to get me a place. How can I expect more from you? Besides, the safety token is of no use to me. He was telling the truth. It also came from the confidence of him being a perfect chaotic creature which was not so easy to kill. At the same time, he had cultivated 2 secret skills, Primordial Void Celestial Body and Exquisite Pagoda. He also had a robust life-saving ability that was not to be taken lightly in addition to his recent breakthrough of Peak Stage Chaotic Realm and cultivated the 2nd stage of Primordial Void Celestial Body, hence very few first-class divine demons were his match. Under such circumstances, all he had to watch out for in the saint's tomb were the possible dangers and risks within. The genius disciples from various sects who could enter the saint's tomb were first-class divine demons. Even the most outstanding disciples, 12 minor kings, were not his match, hence Jian Wushuang had nothing to worry about. He probably would not have any use for the safety token. Jian Wushuang, I've already told you what I knew. Erase the detailed information about the saint's tomb. You can read more to find out the remaining bits and pieces. Elder Wu Jian handed a jade slip to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang took it, glanced at it, and nodded slightly. Alright, take your time to study it yourself. It'll make a move. Elder Wu Jian left right away. Jian Wushuang began to browse the detailed information of the saint's tomb given to him. There was still a month before the saint's tomb opened. Within the month, not only Narcissus Island but the other sects in the Wuxia wilderness had also begun preparing for conquering the saint's tomb. A large number of genius disciples were looking forward to entering the tomb. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Narcissus Island. There were rows of figures standing on a piece of land. Those people were core disciples nominated to enter the saint's tomb from Narcissus Island. Zhong Yi and Su Tong were the leaders. Zhong Yi, a young man with a black robe, black hair, and a somewhat evil complexion, carried a sword on his back while standing there proudly. The other core disciples around him looked at him in awe. In terms of strength and power, Zhong Yi was the best among the many disciples of Narcissus Island in this era. Although he was not listed as one of the 12 minor kings, he was infinitely close to the 12 minor kings in terms of strength and power. Standing beside Zhong-yi was a fair-skinned girl in a white robe who looked a little weak. The girl had long hair hanging down to her waist and very delicate facial features. She could be called a rare beauty. Su Tong, the only genius in Narcissus Island that was comparable with Zhong-yi in the era, might be slightly weaker than Zhong-yi in terms of strength and power. However, she had tremendous potential in terms of talent. Junior sister Tong, among the many disciples who are going into the saint's tomb from Narcissus Island this time, you and I are leaders. When we get to the tomb, we have to work together, said Zhong. That's for sure. I don't have much experience and am not mature in dealing with matters, so it's best for you to make the decisions when we are in the tomb, said Su Tong bluntly. She was aware of her abilities and knew that the tomb was filled with dangers. Her safety was guaranteed with the safety token. However, most of the other disciples who went along with them were not given a safety token. Junior sister, don't worry. Although the saint's tomb is dangerous, we should be fine if we are careful. Zhong-yi smiled. The other core disciples were also casually chatting with each other. Our people are all here, right? Who else is not here? The 9 core disciples have arrived. The one that has not arrived in the outer disciple called Jian Wushuang. Outer disciple? Indeed, he is only an outer disciple and merely at the chaotic realm. I heard that Elder Wujin used his special quota as an elder to fight for his opportunity to enter the saint's tomb. Many disciples in Narcissus Island were saying that Jian Wushuang has an extraordinary relationship with Elder Wujin. Is that so? Will we be burdened to enter the saint's tomb with someone at the chaotic realm? Perhaps, but we have to go along with it. Elder Wujin used his special quota on him and he didn't violate the rules of Narcissus Island. Even the Lord couldn't oppose it. Chapter 2400. The geniuses gathered. None of those core disciples attempted to lower their voices, so their conversations were loud and clear to everyone that was present, including the second elder and the 7th elder who led the team. The second elder's eyes were cloudy and her expression did not change at all. On the contrary, the 7th elder was seen sneering. However, there was one person who thought completely different from the others. All the core disciples, even the 2 elders, thought that Jian Wushuang was a burden. On the other hand, the only one among the core disciples who had faith in Jian Wushuang was Xiaoheng. These guys. Xiaoheng swept his gaze over at the core disciples who were talking and laughing before shaking his head. He could understand those core disciples because when he went for a mission with Jian Wushuang, he used to look down upon Jian Wushuang like the other core disciples. It was after that mission that outer disciple Jian Wushuang had become a monster to Xiaoheng. At that very moment, 2 figures came from the void with a swoosh. They were the duo Elder Wujin and Jian Wushuang. It seems we are the last to arrive. Elder Wujin appeared on the land and muttered to himself. Huh, glad that you know. The 7th elder glared at Elder Wujin. Elder Wujin did not bother to talk to him. Instead, he ordered, Jian Wushuang, go on. Jian Wushuang nodded and emerged in front of the core disciples. I, Jian Wushuang, pay my respect to all you senior brothers. I'm sorry to have kept you all waiting. Jian Wushuang was humble and polite. Well, glad that you are not oblivious. Indeed, he belongs to the chaotic realm. The core disciples all stared at Jian Wushuang with a weird smile. None of them were willing to respond positively to him. Xiaoheng was the only one who stepped forward and said humbly, Junior brother Wushuang, this time you and I are together again. I hope that junior brother can take care of me when we are in the saint's tomb later. Oh, senior brother Xiaoheng? Jian Wushuang raised his brows but did not say much. Xiaoheng did not mind either. The core disciples next to Xiaoheng all looked over at their direction in surprise. Xiaoheng, when did you become so talkative? It's just an outer disciple. Does he even deserve your humility? Xiaoheng, this is so not you. The core disciples were teasing Xiaoheng. The core disciples who were nominated to the tomb were all among the best core disciples of Narcissus Island. Each of them was excellent no matter in terms of talent or ranking. They were not inferior to Xiaoheng and some were even better than Xiaoheng, Hence they were communicating on an equal footing and did not refer to each other by seniority. They called each other by name instead. Upon hearing those ridicules, Xiao Heng was a little annoyed and said, "What do you know? Though junior brother Wushuang is only an outer disciple, he is different from the average outer disciples and has strong abilities." "Did you just say a chaotic realm is very powerful? Xiao Heng, are you sure you aren't dreaming?" The core disciples continued teasing Xiao Heng without taking his words to heart. "Anyway, I've already said what I have to say. It's your business whether you believe it or not, and you will soon realize the truth after entering the saint's tomb." Xiao Heng curled his lips and did not bother talking to them anymore. "Well, it's time. Let's set off." The second elder, who was resting with her eyes closed, suddenly announced, "Yes." Even the seventh elder and Elder Wu Jin could not refute her orders. "Fix up the formation," ordered the seventh elder. At the sound of his voice, countless secret patterns appeared in the center of the land. A gush of majestic divine power emanated and a huge spatial passage appeared at the land's center in just a few moments. It was difficult to create a huge spatial passage as heaven and earth were stable. Some powerful sects in the Wuxia wasteland had the ability to create spatial passages, and Narcissus Island was one of them. Under the personal guidance of the 3 elders, 10 disciples, including Jian Wushuang, stepped into the spatial passage. With a flash of the dazzling light, when Jian Wushuang and the others reappeared again, they had already arrived in a large glade. When they arrived at the glade, there were already large numbers of figures there. They were the disciples from various sects of Wuxia Wilderness and their elders who led the teams. They all instantly noticed Jian Wushuang and his group. "Are they disciples from Narcissus Island?" "Yes, they are from Narcissus Island. There are 3 elders and 10 disciples. The 2 disciples in the center must be the famous duo, Zhong Yi and Su Tong." Zhong Yi and Su Tong seemed to be very capable. Especially Zhong Yi, which I heard was comparable to those from the lower rank of the 12 minor kings. "Well, why is there a chaotic realm among the disciples of Narcissus Island? Is he also preparing to enter the saint's tomb?" "Ha, a chaotic realm entering the saint's tomb. How interesting." There were whispering sounds everywhere on the glade, and many people cast their eyes in the direction of the people from Narcissus Island. Most of the gazes were on Zhong Yi and Su Tong, but some of them were on Jian Wushuang, making the other 7 core disciples less noticeable. However, they quickly shifted their gaze away. After all, there were many more geniuses on the glade beside Zhong Yi and Su Tong. There are so many people around. Xiao Heng and the other core disciples were also checking around. There must be hundreds of people around here. Almost all of them are second-class divine demons. There are only a few third-class divine demons, Xiao Heng commented. Those that were preparing to enter Saint's tomb were mostly second-class divine demons, genius disciples. There were fewer first-class divine demons as compared to the second-class divine demons. However, the total number of first-class divine demons was around 40 to 50, and most of them were first-timers. As for the third-class divine demons, they were the least because they usually would not attempt to enter the saint's tomb. Jian Wushuang, who was a chaotic realm, was absolutely uncommon. He attracted so much attention due to his circumstances. "Jian Wushuang, look in that direction. That red-haired man is the top genius of the Blood Mountain sect, Hui Yang. He is also one of the 12 minor kings. He is ranked 10th among the 12 minor kings. Although his ranking is relatively low, he is very powerful. He once fought head-on with a peak-stage divine demon and lost the battle, which lasted for a long time." Elder Wu Jin stood beside Jian Wushuang as he was introducing Jian Wushuang to the geniuses on the glade. Jian Wushuang looked at Hui Yang. "So, he is ranked 10th? Bai Tao seems to be ranked 11th. Since their rankings are close, I suppose their powers are of a similar level," murmured Jian Wushuang. Chapter 2401. Entering the Saint's Tomb. "That one over there is Wu Ming, one of the 12 minor kings. He has some strange tricks up his sleeves. The little girl squatting on the ground looks very weak, but don't underestimate her. She is ranked 5th among the 12 minor kings, Hong Luo. And that one. Elder Wujian introduced the 12 minor kings that were present to Jian Wushuang one by one. He also did not leave out some famous geniuses who were not part of the 12 minor kings. Jian Wushuang paid attention to them. He had never walked around in the Wuxia wilderness and had little knowledge about the top geniuses of various sects in Wuxia wilderness. Take the 12 minor kings, for example. He had only met Bai Tao before. He knew nothing about the rest. He had now gained quite some information about them from Elder Wujian. At that very moment, a loud buzzing sound emerged. A large group of figures appeared on the glade with the help of spatial passages. The large group of figures appeared and instantly attracted the attention of everyone present. Even the 12 minor kings looked at the group of people. Great Compassion Sect. People from the Great Compassion Sect are here. There are so many of them. There must be around 30 to 40 of them, right? The number of slots to the tomb given to each sect was based on the strength of their sections. The top sects have about 10 places. However, the Great Compassion Sect is the best of all, hence they have 30 slots. Many people started whispering on the glade and they all enviously looked in the direction of the Great Compassion Sect. They were the best sect in the Wuxia wasteland. Most geniuses were eager to be part of them, but they were unable to find an opportunity, so they could only join the other sections. Wow! There are 30 genius disciples, but amongst them, 9 are first-class divine demons. Look at those 4 people, someone was heard yelling in a deep voice. The genius disciples of various sects on the glade were all staring at the 4 lead disciples of the Great Compassion Sect. The 4 of them consisted of 3 men and 1 woman. The 4 of them stood side by side and attracted much attention. The other geniuses present seemed to have lost their footings before them. Those 4 people are the 12 minor kings of the Great Compassion Sect, right? Asked Jian Wushuang. When he was residing in the Anjiu Commandery, in an event by Anjiu Commandery Governor Bai Yue, he heard that the Great Compassion Sect was a place where top geniuses of the Wuxia wilderness gathered. It was such that the Great Compassion Sect alone had 4 members in the 12 minor kings. Elder Wujian nodded. The Great Compassionate Sect's overall strength and genius disciples ranks are better than other sections. 4 of the 12 minor kings belong to the Great Compassionate Sect. The 4 of them are ranked the 8th, 6th, 3rd, and 1st among the 12 minor kings. The other 3 are easier to handle, but Tu Qianxing, who is ranked 1st among the 12 minor kings, was an exceptional super genius. He's much better than the others and shines bright even among them. Among the younger generation of Wuxia wilderness, he was peerless. Even though the Wuxia wilderness is producing geniuses, those geniuses are nothing in front of him. Is he that remarkable? Jian Wushuang had his eyes fixed on the strong man with his hands folded and his eyes closed. That strong man was Tu Qianxing. At that moment, not only Jian Wushuang but many other geniuses were watching him intentionally or unintentionally. Although many of them had a sense of competitiveness shooting up in them, they quickly suppressed their thoughts after their reasonings kicked in. The top genius in Wuxia wilderness, Tu Qianxing, was not someone anybody could challenge. Not even the 12 minor kings were qualified. If I'm not mistaken, this Tu Qianxing has now reached peak stage divine demon, right? As such, he shouldn't be able to enter the saint's tomb, right? Said Jian Wushuang suddenly. He had already noticed the aura on Tu Qianxing. Tu Qianxing, too, did not try to constrain his aura. He was indeed beyond the first-class divine demons. He probably has just broken through recently. Once he achieved the peak stage divine demon realm, he's no longer a younger generation disciple. He wouldn't be able to enter the saint's tomb. It's strange why he did not suppress his realm first and break through when the tomb opened. Elder Wujian frowned. Who knows, maybe he doesn't care about the opportunities in the tomb at all? Jian Wushuang jeered. Perhaps. Before Tu Qianxing broke through, he used to kill a peak stage divine demon head-on with his first-class divine demon identity. Now that he has broken through the peak stage divine demon, I supposed he's now matchless among the peak divine demon of the Wuxia Wilderland, said Elder Wujian. Jian Wushuang's face flickered. Can a first-class divine demon kill a peak stage divine demon head-on? No wonder he was called the top genius in the Wuxia wilderness. Jian Wushuang, don't be discouraged. You are more talented than Tu Qianqing, said Elder Wu Jin again. He knew that Jian Wushuang was comparable to the second-class divine demons in his early stages chaotic realm. His abilities were much higher against Tu Qianqing. Jian Wushuang smiled at Elder Wu Jin's words. At the glade, the genius disciples of the various sects have gathered. It's almost time. Let's open the saint's tomb. A fellow elder from the Great Compassion sect spoke. The experts who led the other sects nodded in unison. Under the cooperation of many powerful experts, 8 huge spatial wormholes soon appeared in front of everyone. 8 wormholes. Jian Wushuang was surprised. The saint's tomb is an independent space of its own. These 8 spatial wormholes are all going to the different areas of the tomb's outer area. This is good. After all, the purple amulets are scattered in the outer area. It works better if disciples of various sects are scattered all over the places, said Elder Wu Jin. Is that so? Jian Wushuang nodded. With the emergence of 8 spatial wormholes, the genius disciples of the various sects were getting ready to enter the tomb. Over at the Great Compassion sect. As in previous sessions, the Great Compassion sect will be divided into 3 teams and enter the tomb through 3 spatial wormholes. Junior brothers, you 3 will each lead a team, said Tu Qianqing in a deep voice. Yes. 3 of the minor kings who stood by him respectfully nodded. Many disciples of the Great Compassion sect were the first to step into the spatial wormhole while some of the remaining top sects followed closely behind. Let's go, said Zhongyi, who led Narcissus Island. Hence, 10 disciples of Narcissus Island, including Jian Wushuang, also stepped into one of the spatial wormholes. Chapter 2402, Purple Amulet Inside the Saint's Tomb. There was a deep yellow, completely desolate land. There was a flash of light before 10 disciples of Narcissus Island appeared on the land. Is this the saint's tomb? Jian Wushuang stood on the ground and looked around. He could feel the difference between where he was and the outside world. The area was lifeless and lacked vitality. We have just entered the tomb. This is the outer area of the tomb. The purple amulets that are required to enter the divine power ocean exist in every corner of the outer area, so we will stay in the outer area for a while to collect those purple amulets before going into the inner area for more opportunities, said Zhongyi. Senior brother Zhongyi, this outer layer is the largest area in this tomb. If we stay together all the time, chances of finding the purple amulets will be much smaller, and even if we find them, it will be difficult for us 10 disciples to share them all, so I think we should spread out for the time being, said Su Tong, who stood next to Zhongyi. Zhongyi nodded slightly. Well, I think so too. However, the outer layer is also very dangerous and disciples of the other sects could come close to us. If 10 of us are scattered out, we might be unable to face the dangers coming our way alone. It's better to go in pairs so that we can take care of each other. As for the purple amulets they found in pairs, they could share it among themselves. Yes. Su Tong nodded. The other 8 disciples also agreed, including Jian Wushuang. In the outer area, it was wise for 10 disciples to go out in pairs. Let's start assigning the group now, Jian Wushuang. Zhongyi looked at Jian Wushuang directly. You can come with me. Huh. Jian Wushuang was taken aback. The other core disciples all looked at Jian Wushuang. They immediately understood that Zhongyi's move was to even out the strength of teams, and at the same time, he was also taking care of Jian Wushuang. Everyone knew that Jian Wushuang was only a chaotic realm. In the eyes of those core disciples, he was a burden. If he was paired with ordinary disciples of second-class divine demons, their combat power would be weakened. Zhongyi was the strongest among them. If he was in the same team as Jian Wushuang, it's possible for them to handle any risks or dangers that were thrown their way. Senior brother Zhongyi, I appreciate your kindness, but I think I should still be with another senior brother. Brother Xiaoheng, how about you and me together? Jian Wushuang smiled. Xiaoheng was startled, but he nodded without hesitation. Of course, it is my honor to be paired with you, junior brother Wushuang. Senior brother Zhongyi, I have joined senior brother Xiaoheng, said Jian Wushuang. Xiaoheng, is it okay for you to be with him? Zhongyi frowned. Senior brother, don't worry. I'm very confident that there will be no problems with junior brother Wushuang, Xiao Heng answered confidently. He was confident. He knew how capable Jian Wushuang was. It was indeed his honor to be in the same group as Jian Wushuang. In that case, for the sake of safety, we shall still exchange our message tokens with each other and keep a close distance between groups. If there is a danger, I will immediately send help to the group. Understand? Zhong Yi gave his advice. Yes. Those disciples nodded one by one. The 5 teams were sorted out quickly and they all exchanged their message tokens. The 5 teams then moved in separate ways. Several core disciples gave Jian Wushuang and Xiao Heng a mocking glance before moving away. Jian Wushuang is really stupid. Senior brother Zhong Yi gave him a chance, but he just let it go. How funny that he went off with Xiao Heng. The same goes for Xiao Heng. He actually blindly agreed. He's a second-caste divine demon who has just broken through, yet he went along with a chaotic realm. If they were in danger, who among them could ward it off? Let them be. Anyway, they made their own choices. Even if they drop dead facing the dangers, it has nothing to do with us. Those core disciples were brothers of the same sect, but they were not very close to each other. If they could help, they would try their best. But if the other party was seeking death, they could not be bothered. Just like the team of Jian Wushuang and Xiao Heng, they were obviously seeking death. Little did they know that Xiao Heng was sneering after separating from them. These idiots, they still don't know how strong junior brother Wushuang is. They might regret it as soon as they found out. After everyone went their separate ways, Jian Wushuang and Xiao Heng chose one direction and went straight ahead. On the way, Xiao Heng glanced at Jian Wushuang and asked somewhat restrainedly, "Junior brother Wushuang, your divine power seems to be much stronger than before, am I right?" "Well, I broke through to the peak stage chaotic realm," answered Jian Wushuang. Xiao Heng mumbled to himself. Sure enough. In the beginning, he was only in the middle stage chaotic realm, yet his combat power was enough to match first-class divine demons. Now that he has reached the peak chaotic realm, his combat power must have skyrocketed. How strong is his power now? I am afraid that even senior brother Zhong Yi might not stand a chance if he fights against him. I wonder if he can fight head-on with the 12 minor kings? Xiao Heng was speculating about Jian Wushuang's real level of power, but he did not dare to probe further. The two skimmed along the way and kept in touch with the other 4 groups. The distance between those 5 groups was not too far apart. Half an hour passed in just a blink of an eye. Jian Wushuang stopped dead in his tracks. What's wrong? Xiao Heng looked over immediately. I can feel 2 types of special auras right over there. Let's go. Jian Wushuang turned swiftly and headed towards the void. Xiao Heng followed closely behind. Soon, both of them arrived at a barren mountain. As soon as they were there, Xiao Heng had also noticed the 2 types of auras. At the same time, they also saw 2 streams of faint purple lights flashing from the top of the barren mountain. It seems like we are lucky. Jian Wushuang smiled heartily. Yes. Xiao Heng also showed a hint of joy. The two advanced to the top of the barren mountain where 2 purple amulets were floating around. Jian Wushuang sensed that those 2 purple amulets had a unique aura and went towards them. Purple amulets. There are 2 of them. Jian Wushuang smiled and with a wave of his hand, the 2 purple amulets fell right into his palm. Here, this is yours. Jian Wushuang gave one of the purple amulets to Xiao Heng. Junior brother Wushuang, you discovered these 2 purple amulets. Xiao Heng hesitated. Chapter 2403, Joining Forces. Since we are a team, we should split the purple amulets evenly. Jian Wushuang smiled. Xiao Heng accepted the purple amulet without being hypocritical. It's only been an hour and we've already found 2 purple amulets. Looks like there are really quite many of them out here. Let's continue the search, said Jian Wushuang. They continued searching right away. Time flew and 3 days flashed by. In the past 3 days, disciples from various sects who entered Saint's tomb were mostly staying at the outer area, looking for purple amulets. After all, there was always plenty of time when the Saint's tomb opened up. Even the most important opportunity of all, the final 6 positions to study Fengtian scroll that would only appear individually 1 month later. Hence, the disciples were not in a hurry, and in normal circumstances, those disciples would spend more than 10 days in the outer area. After finding all the purple amulets they could discover 10 days later, they would move towards the inner area. There were a total of 3 purple amulets floating above a vast and desolate field. 2 figures suddenly appeared in the field. 3 purple amulets? Both who arrived were core disciples from Narcissus Island. Their eyes lit up when they saw the purple amulets and kept the amulets in their interspatial rings without hesitation. We found 4 of them before this, and we now found 3 all in one go, which means we found a total of 7 in just 3 days' time. Seems like our luck isn't so bad. The 2 disciples were chatting, apparently feeling rather joyful. However, right then, somebody's here? One of the purple-robed disciples' eyes froze all of a sudden. The auras feel like 1 first-class and 2 second-class divine demons. Let's get out of here. They left immediately without thinking twice after noticing 3 individuals' auras. In the next moment, right after the 2 disciples left, 3 figures appeared where they were. We were slightly late as they were ahead of us, said the green-haired woman among the 3. Too bad, I just sensed the aura of purple amulets. They were all taken by those 2, exclaimed another blonde-haired strong man with a large axe on his back. So far, the last member of the group, a crimson-haired young man, had not said a word. The crimson-haired young man was the only first-class divine demon among the 3 of them. His incredibly evil and strange eyes with a shade of scarlet looked at the direction where those 2 disciples headed. If I didn't see wrongly, aren't those 2 disciples of Narcissus Island? Said the crimson-haired young man quietly. The green-haired woman nodded. Yes. Before we came here, I've gathered information on almost all the genius disciples from every sect. It's true that the 2 who were just here are from Narcissus Island, but they were only second-class divine demon, not the best ones from the island. The best ones are Zhongyi and Su Tong. They both entered Saint's Tomb as well, so they're probably close by. Zhong? The crimson-haired young man's face froze as soon as he heard that name. More than 10 years ago, when I was wandering and gaining experience, I had a run-in with him. His ability was slightly higher than mine, and he had an assistant with him. I was badly defeated then. I'm still holding that grudge. 10 odd years have passed. Finally, I get to fight him again. Senior brother, are you thinking of seeking revenge in Saint's Tomb? The green-haired woman looked over. Of course. It's a rare coincidence to run into Zhongyi again, not to mention it's inside Saint's Tomb. How could I miss a rare chance such as this? The crimson-haired young man sneered frostily. But Zhongyi's ability isn't weak. Furthermore, there are a total of 10 genius disciples from Narcissus Island who entered Saint's Tomb. They're definitely not weaker than us Black Thunder Pavilion when it comes to numbers and general abilities. I'm afraid it's probably not so easy if we were to provoke them, said the green-haired lady. It's true that we from Black Thunder Pavilion can't deter them, but can't we look for some help? The crimson-haired young man's lips curved upwards. According to my knowledge, Na Shiyu from Cold Blood Palace is also close by. In addition, they have beef with Narcissus Island. The last time Saint's Tomb was opened, 2 genius disciples from Cold Blood Palace were killed by men from Narcissus Island during the final fight for the 6 positions. The fight in Saint's Tomb was ability-based. It was hard to avoid losses of personnel in the process. Cold Blood Palace did not make any remarks afterward either, but they wouldn't feel good about it anyhow. Now that Saint's Tomb is open once again, Cold Blood Palace definitely wouldn't go soft on Narcissus Island if there's a chance. Other than that, Na Shiyu is a friend of mine. I have his message token. I'll try looking for him now. After saying so, the crimson-haired young man immediately took out a token and began establishing communication. Tang Xiao, you wish to touch Narcissus Island in the outer area? Replied Na Shiyu to him at the first moment. That's right, Narcissus Island's total strength is pretty strong. I'm afraid that Black Thunder Pavilion wouldn't be able to match them, hence I need you to give us a hand, said the crimson-haired young man, Tang Xiao. Na Shiyu fell silent for a moment and then answered, Tang Xiao, I know you have some resentment against Zhong Yi from Narcissus Island. You've once lost to him big time, it's only normal to seek revenge. However, we're merely at the outer area of the saint's tomb. All the disciples are just looking for some purple amulets. Don't you think it's a bit too flagrant to take action right now? It was truly normal and understandable for all sects when there were casualties and injuries during fights for opportunities in the saint's tomb, for example, the competition for the final 6 positions. However, that was obviously a provocation if 2 sects joined forces against Narcissus Island in the outer area. After all, Narcissus Island was one of the top 10 sects in Wuxia Wilderness. In terms of foundation and abilities, Cold Blood Palace was nowhere near them. Na Xiu naturally was a little worried about that. Moreover, Zhong Yi is the most outstanding genius disciple of Narcissus Island. He definitely has a safety token and with it, it's impossible for you to kill him, said Na Xiu. I understand everything you say, I don't plan to directly kill Zhong Yi. I merely want to give him a small lesson. For example, you and I, 2 great sects coming together and force Narcissus Island to give up some purple amulets. If possible, we could think of a way to force Zhong Yi into using his safety token, sending him out of Saint's tomb, and that would be all. In this way, he would have wasted his trip and I could get my revenge. As for the other Narcissus Island disciples, we could go easy on them by just hurting them and not kill them. Isn't that easy? So long as we don't kill their disciples, even Narcissus Island can't say anything. It would just be a brawl between disciples from both sides. We won't do anything overboard, said Tang Xiao. Chapter 2404. Battle Trooper Na Xiu was obviously slightly moved, but he was still a bit hesitant. At that moment, Tang Xiao spoke again. Na Xiu, we've known each other for a while. I'll give you my word. Help me and I'll always remember this favor. Also, after we managed to force the purple amulets out of those Narcissus Island disciples' hands, Black Thunder Pavilion won't take any. The Cold Blood Palace disciples can have it all. Na Xiu's hesitation was lifted after hearing that. All right then, I shall lend you a hand. Where you now? They'll come right away. At this location. The disciples of Black Thunder Pavilion and Cold Blood Palace had started their secret alliance, going directly against Narcissus Island. However, the 10 disciples of Narcissus Island did not notice the slightest sign of it. On the 5th opening day of Saint's tomb, everyone was still at the outer area, carefully searching for purple amulets. However, there were only that many purple amulets, which most of them had been discovered after a few days of searching, and not many were left. The chances of more being found were naturally much slimmer. Jian Wushuang and Xiao Heng were skimming side by side, fully releasing their soul power. Our first 3 days were considered quite fruitful. We had discovered 6 purple amulets, but the efficiency had dropped significantly these 2 days as we only found 2. That means we have a total of 8, for each of us. The chances of discovering more purple amulets in the coming few days would be lower and lower. Looks like after 10 days, we would each have a total of 5 or 6 purple amulets, said Jian Wushuang. 5 or 6? That's actually not bad. Xiao Heng nodded slightly. That was true, it was considered quite decent if each person could get 5 or 6 purple amulets after searching for 10 days. Those who did not have such good luck might only find 1 or 2. Just then, Xiao Heng's expression suddenly changed. What is it? Jian Wushuang noticed immediately. It's a message from Wei Qing. His team has run into a big trouble, said Xiao Heng. Big trouble? Jian Wushuang was surprised. The core disciples of Narcissus Island had all formed teams of 2. Wei Qing was in a duo of second-class divine demons. Jian Wushuang knew about him. Among the 10 Narcissus Island disciples sent to Saint's tomb, his ability was right after Zhong Yi and Su Tong. Although he was only a second-class divine demon, if he fought with a regular first-class divine demon, he could certainly persist for a while. There were 3 safety tokens from Narcissus Island, and the last piece was given to him. Partnering up with another second-class divine demon with his level meant they could resolve most crises they ran into. Now that they had run into a big trouble, it had got to be something severe. If I remember correctly, senior brother Wei Qing's team is located not far away from us, right? With our speed, if we rush over at full velocity, we should be able to get there in under an hour. Come, let's not waste time. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate either and immediately left with Xiaoheng. They broke into their fastest speed possible and rushed towards Wei Qing's location. Within an hour's time, Jian Wushuang and Xiaoheng arrived at the void where Wei Qing's team was. As soon as they arrived, they witnessed a terrifying sight. A gigantic 2-meter-tall figure that looked as if it was constructed by purple marble was continuously swinging a huge mace in a frenzy. The mace that it swung was heavy and forceful with impressive momentum. Most importantly, it was incredibly fast. As one strike just went down, another strike arrived immediately. Absolutely barbarous. Right before this huge figure was Wei Qing and another core disciple from Narcissus Island. They were already giving the best of their abilities, especially Wei Qing. His body had grown a lot bigger, blood and energy were rushing through his body as he swung his heavy sword to ward off the mace's attacks. However, it was obvious that he was at an absolute disadvantage every time he warded off an attack. With every blow of the mace, he got pushed back further and further. The horrifying recoils had made him bleed and his injury looked serious. Damn, it's a battle trooper and a purple battle trooper on top of that. Its ability was the equivalent of a first-class divine demon. No wonder even Wei Qing has trouble fighting it off. Xiaoheng could immediately recognize the gigantic figure as he arrived. A battle trooper? Jian Wushuang's eyes froze. He had heard of the existence of battle troopers from Elder Wujian's detailed information. There existed some dangers in Saint's Tomb and the battle troopers were one of them. One could say that battle troopers were the guardians of Saint's Tomb, created by the Crimson Stone Saint to stop and destroy practitioners who forced their way into the tomb. There were 3 types of battle troopers: silver battle troopers, purple battle troopers, and crimson battle troopers. Among them, silver battle troopers were equivalent to second-class divine demons, purple battle troopers, first-class demons. The most terrifying of all were crimson battle troopers. They were comparable to peak-stage divine demon. However, the number of those battle troopers were not large and they were scattered in different corners of Saint's Tomb. It was usually rare to encounter them, especially the scariest crimson battle troopers. There were probably a total of 2 or 3 crimson battle troopers scattered in the tomb and rarely made contact with practitioners. Even if they did, the practitioners would escape right away, almost never giving the crimson battle troopers a chance to start their mayhem. With the numerous times Saint's Tomb was opened, there were rarely genius disciples who died in the hands of crimson battle troopers. On the contrary, the purple battle troopers were much more feared. Purple battle troopers were not only comparable to first-class divine demon, their incredible speed was their most crucial quality. After Wei Qing and the other core disciple had been fighting with the purple battle trooper for such a long time, the desire to escape this situation did cross their minds. Unfortunately, it caught up with them. That was the reason Wei Qing's team had immediately called for help from the other core disciples. Fortunately, it's Wei Qing's team who ran into the purple battle troopers. If they were 2 regular second-class divine demons, they wouldn't be able to survive this long, exclaimed Xiaoheng. Senior brother Xiaoheng, don't just stand there. Go to help them. Jian Wushuang pushed. I help them? How about you? Xiaoheng stared at Jian Wushuang. I'm merely at the chaotic realm. I can't even take one strike from the purple battle trooper, so I'd better stay here like a good boy. Jian Wushuang smiled. Xiaoheng rolled his eyes upon hearing it but did not say more. His figure blurred and charged directly at the purple battle trooper. Wei Qing am here to help. Xiaoheng attacked immediately, fighting the purple battle trooper together with Wei Qing. Wei Qing and the other core disciple had in fact noticed their arrival earlier on. However, they were not surprised at all when they saw Jian Wushuang standing there without making a move. In their opinion, Jian Wushuang was truly not suitable to participate in this battle based on his abilities. Chapter 2405. The Repel the Purple Battle Trooper was incredibly overpowering throughout the battle while perpetually oppressing Wei Qing and the rest. However, the pressure that Wei Qing endured had greatly decreased due to Xiao Heng's help. All they needed to do now was to keep on battling until the rest of the Narcissus Island disciples arrived. The 5 teams of Narcissus Island were all in very close proximity. Jian Wushuang and Xiao Heng were the first ones who arrived, but the rest of them were not too far behind either. In only a short moment, another team arrived, though still a duo of second-class divine demons. However, they could finally have a fair fight with the purple battle trooper with 5 people working together after both of them joined in. A while later, Su Tong, who was among the 4th group, arrived. As soon as she arrived, Su Tong directly joined the battle, crossing hands with the purple battle trooper like a bolt of lightning with her first-class divine demon battle strength fully unleashed. She unleashed multiple silent stabs using a spear. The spear's sharp tip stabbed on the purple battle trooper's gigantic body while her body was moving like a ghost. The purple battle trooper's mace swinging speed was fast, but it could not fend off Su Tong's spear. Senior sister Su Tong's spear skills are pretty impressive, and her understanding of the spear arts is also extremely high. Looks like she has arrived at profound achievement in spear arts. Jian Wushuang was quietly shocked. The purple battle trooper was equally a first-class divine demon, however it had no choice but to be manipulated by Su Tong when fighting her. Its mace could not even touch the corners of Su Tong's clothes while her spear hit its body time and again. After more than 10 hits, the purple marble on its surface had shown some cracks despite the purple battle trooper's body being extremely hard. The battle trooper had no intention to keep fighting as it turned away and escaped. Su Tong and the rest did not pursue any further. After all, it was only one of the few battle troopers that Crimson Stone Saint had left in the saint's tomb. Even if they shattered it, there was no other meaning besides being a waste of energy. It's finally defeated? Su Tong retracted her spear while feeling relieved when she looked at the direction of the purple battle trooper's escape. The battle trooper was really a personal creation of Crimson Stone Saint. Not only was its battle strength strong, but its body was also very solid too. After doing more than 10 of my spear blows on it, I could only inflict a little crack. I probably would have to hit it 100 times to break it apart. Plus, this is not the only battle trooper. The most terrifying ones in Saint's Tomb are the Crimson Battle Troopers. I heard that they are comparable to peak stage divine demons. Su Tong exclaimed. The other core disciples had already relaxed. Wei Qing and the core disciple in his team who fought the purple battle trooper since the beginning directly sat on the floor while panting really hard. Are you all right? Su Tong walked up and asked. I'm doing quite all right, but senior brother Wei Qing. The core disciple frowned hard. Everyone immediately looked over at Wei Qing and realized that his face was incredibly pale and his aura was also very weak. Su Tong went up right away to check on him. Not too bad. Although he's suffering some serious injuries and used up quite a bit of divine power, that would affect his battle strength for a short period of time. As long as he receives help from elixirs, he'll be able to recover to his peak level within 10 days, said Su Tong. Hearing her words, the core disciples around nodded quietly. Although it was difficult for Wei Qing to utilize his full abilities in the next 10 days, the battle for the final 6 positions was taking place more than 20 days later, so he still had time to recover. Senior sister Su Tong. Since senior brother Wei Qing is injured and his power has decreased, his team would definitely be weakened. If they run into another crisis like this, they probably wouldn't be able to hold on for this long. Should we perhaps rearrange the teams? One core disciple voiced out. Yes, it is necessary to rearrange, but no hurry. Let's wait for senior brother Zhong Yi's team to arrive before we discuss, said Su Tong. They waited in the field while restoring their divine power. Not long after, Zhong Yi's team, which was the last team, had also arrived. At the same time, Zhong Yi understood the situation. Junior brother Wei Qing's injuries are not minor. He'd better not fight in these coming days and focus on recovery, so he can be in the same team as me for the next few days in the outer area, said Zhong Yi. Yes. Su Tong and the rest all agreed. It was safe to say that Zhong Yi really lived up to the term senior brother as the most outstanding Narcissus Island genius disciple of his generation and leader of the 10 core disciples at the Saint's Tomb. Previously, he suggested Jian Wushuang to team up with him in order to balance out each group's ability while not neglecting Jian Wushuang, which Jian Wushuang unfortunately declined. Now that Wei Qing was injured and could not fight, he asked Wei Qing to join his team. The 5 teams were rearranged. As soon as their divine powers were restored, they could start moving again to look for more purple amulets. Suddenly, in the void not far away from them, black dot lines appeared out of the blue. The black dot lines were charging towards them at incredible speed. Zhong Yi, Su Tong, and Jian Wushuang immediately noticed the black dot's presence as they simultaneously looked towards the same direction. That's... Zhong Yi locked his eyebrows. Are they genius disciples from other sects? Su Tong squinted. In the blink of an eye, the black dots that were still on the edge of the sky had already appeared before them. A total of 10 figures floated before them. Leading the 10 people was a crimson-haired young man, Tang Xiao from Black Thunder Pavilion. I was still wondering who you were. Looks like it's people from Black Thunder Pavilion. Zhong Yi sneered mildly when he made out who they were. He looked at the one moving towards him. Tang Xiao, it's been a while. Your injury recovered pretty fast and your arms have healed too? Tang Xiao's facial muscles were twitching slightly upon hearing his words. More than 10 years ago, he suffered a big defeat against Zhong Yi. Not only was he severely injured by Zhong Yi, both his arms were also chopped off by Zhong Yi in front of everyone. If Zhong Yi did not take his status as Black Thunder Pavilion's disciple into consideration, Tang Xiao would probably have been killed. That battle, although more than 10 years had passed, was the biggest humiliation Tang Xiao had ever suffered. He was there to take revenge, but before he could say anything, Zhong Yi had already spread salt on his wound. His feeling of shame was burning his face and the fires of rage started to build up inside. Chapter 2406. Zhong Yi, you're laughing now but you won't be able to soon. Tang Xiao stared closely at Zhong Yi. What? You're here looking for trouble with just you and your people from Black Thunder Pavilion? Zhong Yi's eyes turned frosty. Haha, that surely wouldn't be enough, but do you think we're the only ones who have beef with you? Tang Xiao burst out laughing. Just as his voice faded, there were a few dark figures appearing in the void not far away and arrived in front of everyone in a blink of an eye. There were 5 of them and the group leader was a bald man with a violent aura. Are you sure of Cold Blood Palace? Zhong Yi's expression changed. Zhong Yi, Su Tong, I've long been hearing your names. We finally met. The bald man Na Xiu cracked open his mouth and smiled. It was a cold smile. Na Xiu, what does Cold Blood Palace want? Do you want to become enemies with Narcissus Island? Said Zhong Yi coldly. Back where Tang Xiao was from, Black Thunder Pavilion had a general strength that was not far behind Narcissus Island. Zhong Yi could not use Narcissus Island to coerce him. However, Cold Blood Palace was far from comparable to Narcissus Island, which was evident through the fact that there were only 5 of their disciples who got into Saint's Tomb. Once Zhong Yi saw the arrival of 5 Cold Blood Palace disciples, he mentioned Narcissus Island's name at the very first moment. Becoming enemies with Narcissus Island? This is nothing but competition between the disciples. We have no intention of antagonizing Narcissus Island. Besides, the last time Saint's Tomb was open, we had a few disciples who died in Narcissus Island disciples' hands and it was due to a fair fight, thus we didn't say anything. Now that we just arrived, you're already accusing us of antagonizing Narcissus Island? Na Xiu gave Zhong Yi an insulting look. Na Xiu, don't waste your breath talking to him. Let's do it, said Tang Xiao right after. All right then. Na Xiu nodded. The disciples from both sects immediately activated their attack. Oh no! All of Narcissus Island's disciples looked troubled. They could handle the attacks if they were only facing Black Thunder Pavilion, but now that there was also Cold Blood Palace, it was important to remember that there were 10 disciples from Black Thunder Pavilion. If the 5 disciples from Cold Blood Palace were added on, there were a total of 15 opponents, with the weakest ones all being second-class divine demons and a total of 3 first-class divine demons, with 2 first-class divine demons from Black Thunder Pavilion and Na Xiu, which was 1 more than Narcissus Island. That caused a huge total strength gap between Narcissus Island and its opponents. If they fought, careful! Block them. All disciples from Narcissus Island began to take action, establishing the battle against Black Thunder Pavilion and Cold Blood Palace within moments. An intense fight had immediately broken out. Zhong Yi unsheathed his battle blade while Su Tong also joined in with her spear, and both their faces looked grim. This is the outer area. There is no obvious fight for opportunities. The men from Black Thunder Pavilion and Cold Blood Palace wouldn't dare to kill, said Zhong Yi. Su Tong nodded. True. However, they could still heavily injure us even if they don't dare to kill us, making us lose our battle strength in the short time so that we can't fight for the final 6 positions. Let's all be careful and try not to get hurt. I've sent a message to the second elder, requesting her to look for people from Black Thunder Pavilion and Cold Blood Palace. Zhong Yi announced. Ha! Zhong Yi, you better worry about yourself for now. With a hearty laugh, Tang Xiao had already appeared before Zhong Yi with Na Xiu next to him. Na Xiu, well worked together. Let's teach Zhong Yi a good lesson today, said Tang Xiao. No problem. Na Xiu smiled. Both of them simultaneously attacked, dashing at Zhong Yi like flashes of lightning. 2 against 1. Su Tong was also entangled in a fight with another first-class divine demon from Black Thunder Pavilion. When it came to abilities, Zhong Yi was the strongest individual amongst everyone in the battle. If it was a one-on-one fight, neither Tang Xiao or Na Xiu could have the upper hand, though the difference was small. When it came to 2 against 1, he was totally overpowered. Tang Xiao, what are you two exactly up to? Flames of rage were burning in Zhong Yi's eyes as he was crazily swinging his battle blade, already releasing his strongest battle strength. Even so, he could merely block their attacks and gradually lose his stand. What do we want to do? You still don't know? How did you treat me more than 10 years ago? I want to pay you back in full. Tang Xiao laughed hard, but his eyes were extremely cold. Funny, do you think I would be worried about you if we fought one-on-one? Zhong Yi growled deeply and immediately looked over at Na Xiu. Na Xiu, what would make Cold Blood Palace willing to retreat? It's easy if you want me to retreat. Give me 30 purple amulets and we will leave right away, said Na Xiu. Zhong Yi was shocked hearing those words. Purple amulets were the most commonly seen items in Saint's Tomb. Almost every genius disciple could find a few if they made a detailed search in the outer area. Narcissus Island disciples had gained quite a harvest in the passing 5 days. However, there were only less than a total of 40 purple amulets pieces among the 10 Narcissus Island disciples, and Na Xiu was asking for 30 of them? That was a robbery. Na Xiu, you're asking for too much, shouted Zhong Yi. Too much. Na Xiu's face turned cold. Looks like you haven't yet understood the situation. Tang Xiao, let's go in harder. Sure. Tang Xiao was very excited. Both of them carried out a frenzied offense, and Zhong Yi was being pressured to the point that he lost all his temper. Not only Zhong Yi, but the rest of Narcissus Island's disciples were also completely on the passive side in the battles. They were all second-class divine demons, but Narcissus Island was clearly outnumbered. On the battlefield, Jian Wushuang had also taken action. The one fighting against Jian Wushuang was a strong blonde man. He was incredibly vicious at waving his weighty and powerful giant axe. However, he noticed that Jian Wushuang was merely at chaotic realm, hence he did not dare to unleash his full strength as he worried that he might kill him by accident. If someone from Narcissus Island died, the nature of their battle would completely alter. As long as the opponent did not get killed, it was not a problem to injure or cripple him. Boy, you have some guts coming to Saint's Tomb as a mere chaotic realm fighter. Are you seeking death? See how I teach you a lesson. The strong blonde man viciously grinned and swung his axe directly at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang had a long sword in his hand, but not the Blood Mountain sword. It was only a regular sword. Facing the incoming axe, he raised his sword to block and easily ward off the attacks. In the Raw, the author wrote, which was evident through the fact that there were only 5 Cold Blood Palace disciples who got into Cold Blood Palace. The team suspects that it was a mistake on the author's part, thus we have translated as such. Chapter 2407. The Ice Queen, Huh, he blocked it? The strong blond man's face betrayed his surprise. Let's go again. That time, the strong blond man added more strength to his hand. The big axe continuously swung out with the occasional heavy chops and sideways slices, charging like rolling waves at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was seemingly calm when facing the attacks and casually waved his sword. It was only a regular sword, but his movements were flawless with almost no weak points. Clang, 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 clang. With every weapon clash, the strong blond man's strength became stronger. However, no matter how he increased his strength, Jian Wushuang's sword could still head-to-head ward off his axe. After tens of clashes, the strong blond man had pushed his strength to the extreme of third-class divine demon, but he still could not inflict any damage on Jian Wushuang. This kid, the strong blond man began feeling mad as the strength in his hands rose again. He was giving his all this time and not holding back anymore. The battle strength of a second-class divine demon was fully unleashed. With another clang, his vicious axe strike was once again blocked by Jian Wushuang, who remained calm as usual. Bastard! Are you messing with me? The strong blond man was finally outraged. At that point in the intense battle, even a fool could tell that Jian Wushuang had been playing around with him. In the beginning, Jian Wushuang could calmly ward off because he was holding back his strength by barely releasing the strength of third-class divine demon. Now that he had completely unleashed all the divine powers that he had as a second-class divine demon, Jian Wushuang could still calmly handle it. It was obvious that Jian Wushuang was also holding back for the entire time and not calling his opponent out. He was clearly playing with the strong blond man. Kid, you've pissed me off. Now drop dead. The strong blond man let out a deep growl. His giant axe and body began to glow with a golden hue. The strong blond man suddenly turned into a dash of lightning while his axe became a golden thunderbolt, hacking forward at Jian Wushuang. The power of his strike was incredibly terrifying that even a second-class divine demon would have to take it very seriously. However, Jian Wushuang was very calm when he saw the golden bolt of lightning. With the sword in his hand, he stabbed horizontally outwards without any fanciness. It was just a simple stab, but it went straight into the middle of the bolt. Crackles and sizzles ensued while the bolt of lightning dissolved with golden electric currents shooting outwards into every direction. The strong blond man's powerful hit was still warded off easily by Jian Wushuang. The blond strong man's expression turned from outrage to complete shock. He already gave his heaviest possible blow, and yet, the chaotic realm Jian Wushuang could still withstand it? Not to mention that he remained absolutely calm throughout. The strong blond man simply could not accept that. Jian Wushuang was infinitely indifferent. His facial expression did not change a bit. He could easily withstand even the most powerful hit from a first-class divine demon, let alone a second-class. The surrounding situations don't look very positive, huh? Jian Wushuang even had the capacity to keep a lookout at the battlefield during all that. He had only fended off a second-class divine demon, but the other second-class divine demon disciples from Black Thunder Pavilion and Cold Blood Palace were still fighting with Narcissus Island disciples. Due to their advantage in numbers, the Narcissus Island disciples were naturally at a clear disadvantage, as on Wei Qing's side. Wei Qing fought a purple battle trooper just moments ago and was severely injured. His ability had declined a great deal. He was thoroughly overpowered when fighting another extremely powerful second-class divine demon, and his injuries got more severe. It was very hard for him to keep enduring. None of the Narcissus Island disciples around could find a chance to help him, as they were all being overpowered, after all. Meanwhile, on the side of first-class divine demons, Su Tong was fighting neck-and-neck with the first-class divine demon from Black Thunder Pavilion, while Zhong Yi had been completely suppressed by Tang Xiao and Na Xiu, without having a chance to help anybody else. If this continues, senior brother Wei Qing would have to use his safety token to retreat from Saint's Tomb, before the second elder at the Outer Realm could finish negotiations with Black Thunder Pavilion and Cold Blood Palace. Looks like he'll have to do something, Jian Wushuang said to himself. In fact, Jian Wushuang did not wish to prematurely show his true abilities. That way, he could have a big advantage during the fight for the 6 positions in the inner area with significantly higher chances of winning a position. However, if he took action at that moment, words about his abilities would naturally go around and genius disciples from every sect would know about it. By then everyone would be on guard against him, hence it would not be as easy to win a position. Previously, Jian Wushuang simply wanted to uneventfully reach the final stage with the Narcissus Island disciples and only made his move when the 6 positions appeared. However, he had no choice but to take action with the situation he was facing. After all, those were his senior and junior brothers from the same sect. He could not allow them to get bullied by those people from Black Thunder Pavilion and Cold Blood Palace. He took a deep breath and raised his head. His eyes were already giving a penetrating gaze. On the nearby battlefield, Xiao Heng was having an intense fight with an incredibly powerful second-class divine demon. However, he would often glance over at Jian Wushuang during the battle. Xiao Heng's eyes lit up when he saw the change in Jian Wushuang's facial expression. Finally making a move? Xiao Heng was well aware that Narcissus Island was at an absolute disadvantage in the battle. However, as long as Jian Wushuang was willing to give his all during a disadvantage like this, the tables would turn. Jian Wushuang was about to make his move, but he stopped. Is there a turnaround? Jian Wushuang glanced at the void on the side and noticed a few figures dash towards their direction at high speed. Bush, 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 bush. 4 figures appeared in the void surrounding the battlefield. Look what we have here. Quite a party, isn't it? Sarcastic laughter filled the air. Everyone on the battlefield could hear it. All those who were fighting, Narcissus Island, Black Thunder Pavilion, and Cold Blood Palace disciples, looked over. Among the 4 newcomers, 3 of them were only second-class divine demons, but their leader was a valiant and beautiful lady in green armor, a true first-class divine demon. Zhong Yi, Tang Xiao, and Na Xiu were all surprised to see such a beauty. Looks like she's Zhuobing from Ancient Star Temple. Zhuobing? The Ice Queen. It's her. Knowing who had arrived, both Tang Xiao and Na Xiu had fear written on their faces. The Ice Queen enjoyed fairly substantial fame among the younger generation in Wuxia Wilderness, at least a lot more famous than both of them. Even Zhong Yi was slightly weaker than the Ice Queen. Zhuobing the Ice Queen? Jian Wushuang froze when he heard that name. He immediately glanced over at the green-armored lady, and his expression became weird upon seeing her. Chapter 2408. Tef, Zhuobing, what are you doing here? Tang Xiao said frostily. Oh, nothing much, just passing by. You guys go ahead. The green-armored lady, Zhuobing, smiled mildly. Passing by. Tang Xiao and Na Xiu both frowned. Miss Zhuobing, could you please give us a hand? Narcissus Island will show gratitude handsomely afterward, said Zhongyi right after. He did not have any friendship with Zhuobing, and that could even be considered their first encounter. Furthermore, Narcissus Island and Ancient Star Temple usually did not have much interaction. However, they had no hatred for each other either, hence his desire to seek a helping hand from Zhuobing. I'm sorry, I have no intention to be mixed up in your issues. Zhuobing rejected straight away. Zhong Yi could not do anything after she said so. On the other hand, Tang Xiao and Xiu felt relieved. Although Zhuobing's group appeared unexpectedly, the outcome would still be the same as long as she did not take action. However, right at that moment, Big Sister. A resonant voice suddenly filled the entire battlefield. Even Zhuobing, who was outside of the battlefield, could hear it. Big Sister? Zhuobing was slightly surprised and looked over to the source of the voice, spotting Jian Wushuang right away. However, she did not look surprised when she saw him. Big Sister, it's me. I'm Jian Wushuang, said Jian Wushuang again. Zhuobing's expression finally changed when Jian Wushuang mentioned his own name. She looked surprised at him. Jian Wushuang? Your little brother? Yes. It's me. Jian Wushuang nodded non-stop, wearing a smile on his face. He was born in the Zhuo clan in his current life. His father, Zhuo Yunfeng, had 1 daughter and 2 sons. The eldest daughter was Zhuobing, the second was Zhuopeng, and Jian Wushuang was the youngest child. Over 100 years ago, Jian Wushuang's elder sister Zhuobing joined a certain sect and had been cultivating in the sect, Hence she seldom returned to Anjou Commandery. Therefore, from the moment he was born into his current life, Jian Wushuang had never really met this big sister. What he did not expect was he could actually meet his unknown big sister in the saint's tomb. After identifying Jian Wushuang, Zhuo Bing lifted her jesting spectator's expression and replaced it with a frosty face. "Take out your weapons and follow me." Zhuo Bing let out a low growl and a bright red staff appeared in her hands. "Senior sister Zhuo Bing, which side are we helping?" asked a second-class divine demon. "Nonsense, of course we're helping Narcissus Island," Zhuo Bing said coldly as her body had already charged forward in an instant. In the blink of an eye, Zhuo Bing was already on the battlefield, arriving at the side of the strong blonde man who was just fighting with Jian Wushuang. Scram! Zhuo Bing's shout resonated as her bright red staff viciously lashed out. "What?" The strong blonde man was startled but managed to react. His body once again glowed with surging golden electric currents and hacked forward with his thunderbolt-turned giant axe. With a loud boom, the golden thunderbolt instantly fell apart. The strong blonde man's giant axe flew out of his hands due to the impact. The strong blonde man threw up a big gulp of blood and flew out like a cannonball. The sudden change of scenario brought the entire battlefield into a short momentary silence. "Little brother, are you hurt?" After fighting off the strong blonde man, Zhuo Bing's figure blurred and appeared next to Jian Wushuang. "No." Jian Wushuang shook his head. "Good then." Zhuo Bing was relieved. Everyone on the battlefield looked over at Zhuo Bing. "Zhuo Bing, what do you think you're doing?" Tang Xiao shouted in anger. "Miss Zhuo Bing, I thought you said you wouldn't join the fight?" Na Xiu frowned as well. The Narcissus Island disciples, however, all looked delighted. "You dare bully my younger blood brother and expect me not to get involved?" Zhuo Bing's face turned very cold. Younger blood brother? Everybody was dumbfounded and looked over at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was the Ice Queen's younger brother? They did not even share the same surname, let alone their facial features. "Zhuo Bing, perhaps there is some kind of misunderstanding," said Tang Xiao. "Misunderstanding? None whatsoever. You have the guts to bully my young brother. If I don't beat your teeth out and make you look for them all over the floor, I don't deserve the Ice Queen title." Zhuo Bing was not in the mood to explain anything to Tang Xiao. Her figure blurred, appearing in front of Tang Xiao after a flash. The staff in her hands suddenly turned bigger and formed a skyscraping shadow staff in a split second, slamming down directly at Tang Xiao. Damn it! Tang Xiao was extremely angry and frightened. He had no time to suppress Zhong anymore and turned around to start battling Zhuo Bing. Zhuo Bing and he were both first-class divine demons, with both being geniuses as well. Theoretically, their ability should have been similar, however. Boom, 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 boom. Blow by blow, the vicious shadow staff perpetually slammed over without any fanciness. The power was frighteningly strong while its speed was extremely fast. The continuous frenzy and angry blows did not give Tang Xiao any opportunity to catch his breath. Almost immediately, Tang Xiao was being suppressed by the frightening shadow staff. "That's so powerful!" The surrounding disciples who witnessed it could not help but to exclaim. It was truly incredibly powerful. At least for those disciples, the shadow staff was too scary. Most importantly, the shadow staff perpetually attacked blow by blow. It was extremely terrifying. Even Jian Wushuang could not hide his shock as he watched Zhuo Bing's continuous staff's shadows. "This big sister of mine, she's this tough?" Jian Wushuang murmured to himself. Exactly. At that moment, Zhuo Bing could really be described as tough. Her attack method was extremely simple, barbarous, and vicious. It could also be extended to the way she carried herself, extremely overbearing. No wonder she gained the nickname Ice Queen. However, what Jian Wushuang did not expect was that his big sister had such strong capabilities. Even Tang Xiao was instantly being suppressed to the point where he could not fight back. That kind of battle strength was even a bit stronger than Zhong Yi. She was probably almost comparable to the last few 12 minor kings. However, according to what he knew, his big sister's abilities were not that strong. He remembered that his father, Zhuo Yunfeng, mentioned to him that his big sister did return home once not long before Jian Wushuang was born. According to Zhuo Yunfeng's account, his big sister had already broken through to chaotic realm. If it took her 20 over years to reach the chaotic realm, then it was impossible that Zhuo Bing could become first-class divine demon within another 20-odd year, let alone possessing such a level of ability. After all, Zhuo Bing was not reincarnated, hence her cultivation speed should not be so fast. Obviously, Zhuo Bing had probably achieved divine demon realm a lot earlier. She probably had even been a first-class divine demon for a long time. Perhaps Zhuo Yunfeng's abilities were not strong enough to tell, thinking that she was only in the chaotic realm. Looks like this big sister of mine is a lot stronger than I had imagined. Jian Wushuang was secretly exclaiming in surprise. Chapter 2409. Big Sister. The situation on the battlefield changed due to the participation of Zhuo Bing and the others. Narcissus Island's second-class divine demons had gradually overcome the disadvantage with help from the 3 ancient Star Temple disciples. As for the first-class divine demons, they were at a huge advantage. Zhuo Bing suppressed Tang Xiao with an aggressive and precise combat skill, which also relieved Zhong Yi's pressure. Previously, Zhong Yi was struggling against 2 enemies, hence naturally he was losing. However, when he was battling head-on with Na Xiu, which was obviously not his opponent, Na Xiu looked like he was on the losing end. Tang Xiao, we can't hold it anymore. Let's retreat, roared Xiu. Tang Xiao looked awful, but he was very unwilling. He was beaten by Zhong Yi more than 10 years ago and was still being humiliated till today. When he finally found a chance for revenge to wash off his shame, he encountered Zhuo Bing. He was reluctant to just leave like that. At that moment, someone is here again? At that exclamation sound, many turned to look at a void not far away where 4 figures dashed in. The 4 figures soon approached. Tang Xiao and Xiu instantly knew who they were. They are from the ancient Star Temple led by their top genius, Ling Dan. D****. We really have to go now. Tang Xiao dared not stay anymore. With the addition of 4 people from Zhuo Bing and her team members, the battle situation had been reversed and they were no longer at an advantage. He intended to create more trouble for Narcissus Island, but the arrival of Ling Dan ruined his plans. Ling Dan was one of the 12 minor kings. His strength was undeniable even though he was ranked last. Both Ling Dan and Zhuo Bing came from the ancient Star Temple, so without hesitation, he would stand by Zhuo Bing's side, and it would only be more difficult for them to retreat later on. Quickly retreat. Tang Xiao let out a low yelp. Hurry up. Xiu also shouted. The disciples from Black Thunder Pavilion and Cold Blood Palace did not hesitate at all. They instantly moved away from their opponents and began retreating. Tang Xiao and Xiu wanted to immediately escape too. Leaving? How could it be so easy? Zhuo Bing pulled a cold and hard face, but that did not stop her from chasing after the enemies. Tang Xiao was furious and had to reveal his strongest trump card. Only with that did he manage to get rid of Zhuo Bing. Zhuo Bing, I remember what happened today. I won't give up easily. Sooner or later, they'll be back. Tang Xiao left a ruthless remark when he left. After only a brief moment, the disciples of Black Thunder Pavilion and Cold Blood Palace were almost gone. Narcissus Island disciples finally breathed a sigh of relief in the void. Was he thinking of taking revenge? I'm here waiting. Zhuo Bing smiled coldly while looking at the direction Tang Xiao was leaving. Junior sister, what's going on here? Ling Dan, who came over, appeared beside Zhuo Bing and frowned while checking around. It's nothing. I just had a battle with those people from Black Thunder Pavilion and Cold Blood Palace, answered Zhuo Bing casually. Ling Dan's expression was strange. Whether it was Zhuo Bing herself, Ancient Star Temple, Black Thunder Pavilion, or Cold Blood Palace, there was no hatred in between. Unless the other party had nothing better to do, they would never take initiative to stir things up. If that was the case, how did Zhuo Bing meet the disciples from 2 major sects? Miss Zhuo Bing. Zhong Yi and Su Tong went over to Zhuo Bing. Thank you for your help just now. Otherwise, I'm afraid that Narcissus Island will suffer a big loss. Don't mention it. I didn't do it for Narcissus Island, said Zhuo Bing. Thereafter she immediately walked towards Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang smiled seeing Zhuo Bing who was approaching him and said, "The mighty big sister. You come over here with me." Zhuo Bing took Jian Wushuang directly to a corner. "Brother, what's the matter with you? My father sent me a message before, saying that you went to Narcissus Island and became an outer disciple. How could an outer disciple that's not even a divine demon realm come into the saint's tomb?" Zhuo Bing stared at Jian Wushuang and solemnly asked. Although she had never met Jian Wushuang before, Zhuo Yunfeng had already informed her of some matters about Jian Wushuang. She also knew that she had a younger brother who was extremely talented in sword arts. However, she did not expect that she would encounter Jian Wushuang in Saint's tomb. "I was able to come to Saint's tomb due to some special reasons." Jian Wushuang smiled slightly but did not explain too much. "Well, since you won't say it, I won't ask anymore. You should know that Saint's tomb is full of dangers. It's still manageable in the outer area, but the competition will be nasty when it comes to the inner area, especially during the fight for the last 6 seats. The people from Narcissus Island will definitely get involved. I'm afraid you won't even know how you end up dying with your abilities," said Zhuo Bing. Jian Wushuang was speechless. Obviously, his eldest sister was not aware of his real strength. He figured that either Zhuo Yunfeng did not tell her in detail, or she did not believe what Zhuo Yunfeng might have said. "Big sister, I know what you are worried about. I'll be very careful when I get to the inner area," said Jian Wushuang. "Of course you have to be careful. Nevertheless, being careful is of not much help anyway with your abilities." Zhuo Bing looked at him and took out a token. "This token is for you. If you encounter a life and death crisis in the saint's tomb, don't hesitate to crush this token." "Is this the safety token?" Jian Wushuang was curious. There were 3 safety tokens in the saint's tomb among the disciples of Narcissus Island. They were with Zhong Yi, Su Tong, and Wei Qing. The strength of the ancient star temple was not much inferior to that of Narcissus Island. They had 2 safety tokens which were with Zhuo Bing and Ling Dan. Without hesitation, Zhuo Bing gave her safety token to Jian Wushuang. "You are really my big sister." Jian Wushuang was moved. "Brother, you must keep this safety token." Zhuo Bing handed the safety token to Jian Wushuang, but Jia Wushuang did not accept it. "Junior sister." Ling Dan was calling out as he walked over. Ling Dan had been paying attention to Zhuo Bing and Jian Wushuang. When he saw Zhuo Bing wanted to give her safety token to Jian Wushuang, he could no longer hold his tongue. "Junior sister, what are you doing? This is a safety token. With this token, it's as if you get 1 more life in Saint's tomb. This is your greatest life-saving tool. How can you simply give it to others?" Ling Dan frowned. At the same time, he looked at Jian Wushuang with a hint of coldness. Of course, that was also because he had just arrived and still had no idea about the relationship between Jian Wushuang and Zhuo Bing. Chapter 24:10 Safety Token. Senior Brother Ling Dan, I know what I am doing. You don't have to tell me what to do. Zhuo Bing gave a sideway glance at Ling Dan. "Junior sister, I am doing this for your own good. This is the only safety token you have, which Elder Kong painstakingly got it from the temple master. How can you simply give it away to an outsider?" Said Ling Dan, "Since the temple master has given it to me, it's now mine. I shall decide on how it's used. Besides, I'm not giving it away to an outsider. He is my brother, not an outsider," said Zhuo Bing coldly. "Brother?" Ling Dan was shocked. He subconsciously glanced at Jian Wushuang and found the latter looking at him with a smile. "He is your brother?" From that moment onwards, Ling Dan looked very differently at Jian Wushuang. He was initially a little cold and wary of Jian Wushuang. However, his expression softened, and even had a gentle smile on his face after realizing who Jian Wushuang was. "I see. May I know your name, brother?" asked Ling Dan with a smile. "Jian Wushuang." Jian Wushuang uttered his name. "So you are Brother Wushuang?" Ling Dan smiled. "Brother?" Jian Wushuang was startled that his expression was even weirder than before. He could notice Ling Dan was interested in his elder sister, but he seemed a little muddle-headed. The saint's tomb is a dangerous place. It's indeed a risky place for Brother Wushuang, who is of chaotic realm. It's necessary to have a safety token for protecting your life, but instead of using junior sisters, I'll give you mine. Ling Dan took out his safety token and gave it to Jian Wushuang. Oh! Jian Wushuang raised his brows and glanced at Ling Dan in surprise. Although this guy is a little stupid, he seems to have a good heart. This safety token is equivalent to an additional life in the saint's tomb, yet he is willing to give away such an important item on behalf of my big sister. It seems that he really is sincere to my big sister. Zhuo Bing was also a little surprised, but she curtly turned Ling Dan down. I will just give my safety token to my little brother. Brother Ling Dan need not be worried. It's alright, it's just a safety token. It's kinda useless to me, said a confident-sounding Ling Dan. What he had said was true. As one of the 12 minor kings, he could still put up a good fight even if he encountered peak divine demons. An expert like him would be safe within Saint's tomb as long he was careful. Zhuo Bing frowned. Jian Wushuang spoke. Big sister, Brother Ling Dan, I understand your kindness. Actually, I don't need the safety token. Stop fooling around. Zhuo Bing glared at him. Big sister, what I said is the truth. Your little brother is actually not as weak as you think. I really don't need the safety token. Although there is danger everywhere in the saint's tomb, I have Brother Zhong Yi with me. He'll just be careful and not contest for the final 6 seats. In that case, I think he'll be fine, said Jian Wushuang. Zhuo Bing was still a little worried. She took a deep look at Jian Wushuang and asked, will you really give up competing for those 6 seats? Of course, big sister. Think about it. Am I not seeking death if I'm to fight for those 6 seats as a chaotic realm? I haven't lived long enough. Jian Wushuang smiled. What he said to Zhuo Bing was merely perfunctory. Giving up the fight for those 6 seats? What a joke. He was there for those 6 seats. In that case, forget it. Zhuo Bing did not insist any further and took back the safety token. Brother, you must be careful in the saint's tomb. Don't be aggressive. Don't make a fool of yourself. That's for sure. Jian Wushuang nodded. No. I'm still worried, so you should just stay with me from now on, said Zhuo Bing. No need for that. Jian Wushuang rolled his eyes. Senior brother Zhong Yi takes care of me. He kept wanting me to stay by his side before. With senior brother Zhong Yi and the others, I won't be in any danger. Zhuo Bing pondered for a moment hearing that and finally nodded. Well, then you should be extra careful. Zhong Yi, thank you for taking care of my little brother, said Zhuo Bing. Miss Zhuo Bing can rest assured, junior brother Jian Wushuang is from the same school as us. I'll definitely do my best to protect him, said Zhong Yi assuringly. Thank you. The Black Thunder Pavilion and the Cold Blood Palace have been eyeing your group. Although they have temporarily retreated, it's not guaranteed they will just simply let you off. After all, both your groups are near to each other. It's easy for them to attack you, so I think it's better for you to go earlier into the inner area to restore your state of power and realm. Zhuo Bing looked around at the several Narcissus Island disciples whose powers were extremely weak now. Especially Wei Qing, his face was pale. If they faced another attack from Black Thunder Pavilion and Cold Blood Palace, it would be difficult for them to parry off the attack. Understood, we will consider it. Zhong Yi nodded slightly. We will make a move first. Zhuo Bing and Ling Dan did not linger around. After giving advice to Jian Wushuang, the ancient god temple's party left. Zhuo Bing wanted to bring Jian Wushuang along, but Jian Wushuang refused. Moreover, she was also responsible for the ancient god temple disciples who might not want to stay with Jian Wushuang, who seemed like a burden. She had to eventually give up on her idea. After Zhuo Bing and the others left, Jian Wushuang, I didn't expect the famous Ice Queen to be your big sister? Ice Queen, her behavior is crazy and domineering as her name suggests, and she is really powerful. You have seen her combat skills, haven't you? Tang Xiao was nowhere her match. The fellow Narcissus Island Corps disciples were raving about the Ice Queen. Jian Wushuang did not say much and just casually smiled. He was actually very surprised. After a while, Narcissus Island disciples were back in focus. Zhong Yi and Su Tong stood together. In the previous battle, all 5 of us have suffered varying degrees of injuries, especially junior brother Wei Qing, whose injuries are serious. Our combat powers are less than 10% of our normal state. It's indeed not suitable for us to wander in this outer area, said Su Tong. Well, what Miss Shuabing said just now is correct. We have to depart ahead of time toward the inner area. There should be no one in the inner area at this time. We can go there to restore our divine powers and realm state first. Zhong Yi also nodded. Initially, their plan was to stay in the outer area for 10 days and collect more purple amulets before heading into the inner area, but they had to change their plans. Chapter 24:11. 9 Bridge of Trials. After Narcissus Island disciples reached a consensus, the group directly set out to the inner area. All they had to do was just go deeper into the tomb and manage to reach the inner area in just one day. The inner area was much smaller than the outer area. They were greeted with a barren open space. In front of the open space was an abyss that was filled with a thick fog and raging fire. The crazy burning fire was enough to burn any divine demons into ashes. The void hovering over the abyss was covered with thunderclouds, and there were flashes of horrible-looking scarlet gold thunder within it. The scarlet gold thunder was enough to make first-class divine demons palpitate. There was no doubt that no one would dare to approach either the thunderclouds above or the fiery abyss below. The only way to pass through the open space was a stone bridge connecting the middle of the abyss both ends. In between the two ends of the abyss, there were 9 stone bridges. Each of the 9 stone bridges was extremely long and looked like some ancient architecture. The 10 Narcissus Island disciples were standing before the abyss. This is the abyss of trials where the 9 trials are, said Zhong. The other disciples looked at the abyss in front of them with eyes especially filled with excitement while they studied the 9 stone bridges. The 4 opportunities of Saint's Tomb. The most precious one was no doubt the 6 seats for looking at Feng Tian scroll. Placed second was the inner area's 9 trials, which could bring about 9 opportunities. The 9 opportunities which were left behind by the Crimson Stone Saints included his valuable inheritance. The 9 trials were in the abyss of trials, specifically on the 9 stone bridges. The 9 stone bridges were called Bridge of Trials, with each trial bridge representing an arduous test. One had to walk through the trial bridge to the abyss other end to collect the opportunity. Originally, there were 16 trial bridges in the abyss, but as the tomb had been opened many times in the past, 7 of the trial bridges have been overcome. The trial bridges with their accompanied opportunities claimed, then collapsed directly into the fiery abyss. Since the tomb has just been opened for a few days, disciples from various sects are currently staying in the outer area to collect purple amulets. We should be the first group to enter the inner area. With no one here now, Junior Brother Wei Qing and those of you who are injured should restore your strength and state as soon as possible. Those of you who are fine can try breaking through these trial bridges. If you are lucky enough to pass through one of them, it will benefit you a lot, said Zhongyi. The disciples nodded and either immediately went to work on recuperating or headed to the 9 trial bridges. Zhongyi looked at Su Tong again. Junior sister Su Tong, you are very talented in spear combat skills. The master of Saint's Tomb, Crimson Stone Saint, had achieved a high spear combat skill level before his death, so that must be his legacy. You should try out the trials. The trial bridge which leads to the Crimson Stone Saint's inheritance should be the 5th bridge, the one right in the middle. Su Tong looked eager. She entered the tomb for Crimson Stone Saint's precious inheritance. She knew that Crimson Stone Saint was at the superior level of an undying saint and must have set up a very tough trial, since many geniuses experts from Wuxia Wilderness who were better than her and also skilled in spear combat had also failed the trial. She thought there was an 80% chance that she would also fail the trial. Then again, she should still give it a go. Su Tong walked towards the 5th trial bridge. In the previous battle, Jian Wushuang did not suffer any injuries, hence he did not need to spend time recuperating and walked towards the 9 trial bridges. I wonder what are the trials in these 9 trial bridges and what opportunities that come with it? Jian Wushuang smiled and went on to individually investigate it. Those 9 trial bridges were extremely mysterious. As soon as Jian Wushuang stepped on the bridges, he would immediately know the opportunities that he could gain after crossing those trial bridges. The opportunity for this first trial bridge turned out to be a cultivation secret technique for 100 refining divine demon. Jian Wushuang was a little surprised, but he immediately shook his head. He was not interested in the cultivation secret technique at all since he already had 2 cultivation techniques, Primordial Void Celestial Body and Thousand Perils Body. Both secret techniques were within the top 10 cultivation techniques in the ancient god domain. One was the strongest secret cultivation technique of the ancient race, and the other was the 5th strongest secret techniques of the 7 Stars Black Sect. Any one of them was very well sought after by countless experts. The 100 refining divine demon that appeared before Jian Wushuang might be well sought after among the divine demons in Wuxia wilderness such that even gods and experts were after it, but that was only because they had no chance to obtain higher-level cultivation secret techniques. As for Jian Wushuang, that technique did not appeal to him at all. Jian Wushuang did not attempt to cross the trial bridge as he was not interested in that opportunity. Soon, Jian Wushuang arrived at the second trial bridge. Oh, saber skills created by an undying saint himself? Jian Wushuang raised his brows but proceeded to the third trial bridge. After passing by all the trial bridges, Jian Wushuang knew about the opportunities that came with them. All the opportunities left by the Crimson Stone Saints were indeed good, and there was a myriad of them. There were skills, secrets, and treasures. There was a unique bronze bell treasure among them. The bronze bell had mysterious secret patterns on it, and those secret patterns were of great help in understanding the destruction law. Unfortunately, what Jian Wushuang wanted was not the destruction law, so the bronze bell was of little use to him, and he was also unable to pass the trial bridge where the bronze bell was located. After walking through 7 trial bridges in a row, Jian Wushuang did not find any opportunities that were useful to him, until he set foot on the 8th trial bridge. As soon as he set foot on the 8th trial bridge, a message immediately came to him. Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly lit up. The opportunity that came along with the 8th trial bridge was the insights and swordsmanship skills left by an undying saint. The undying saint was the Purple Blood Saint. Purple Blood Saint's purple blood swordsmanship? A trace of joy flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. According to the trial bridge's message he received, the Purple Blood Saint, also known as the Purple Blood Sword Saint, was an extremely terrifying, undying saint during his lifetime. He was also a terrifying sword cultivator who had a deep swordsmanship understanding. The purple blood swordsmanship that he created was also very famous. What the trial bridge kept was the insights of Purple Blood Saint and the complete set of his purple blood swordsmanship. An undying saint-level sword cultivator, and his insights were very appealing to Jian Wushuang. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.